Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto attends Kouh Academy Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for Part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Blue eyes blinked as they stared at a group in the distance, where an older man was saying something to a group of children. He seemed to be making weird grabbing motions in his old hands. Naruto-chan. The owner of the blue eyes turned to the sound of the voice to see a beautiful woman with long red hair with a black hair clip holding up the left side of her hair and violet eyes. She was wearing a loose green dress over a white blouse under it, and black wristbands. The woman had a decent-sized bump around her stomach showing she was pregnant. "What are you doing over there? Come on, let's get going." "Coming, Mom," the boy shouted back as he hurried over to his mother. This boy's name was Naruto Uzumaki, a recently turned 7 years old. He had spiky golden blonde hair and azure eyes. He also had whisker marks on both cheeks. He was wearing a black t-shirt with an orange spiral on the front and blue shorts. "So what was over there that was so interesting?" Kushina Uzumaki asked her son as he made his way closer to her. "I don't know, I couldn't really hear," Naruto answered. "I think he was telling stories, though he was doing this weird thing with his hands. It was like he was grabbing something big and squeezing them." Kushina immediately knew what he was talking about. Seeing a lot of perverted men do that when they stared at large. "Naruto-chan, if you ever see that man again, never get close to him." "Huh? But why?" The young boy tilted his head in confusion. "Is he a bad man?" "I can't say he's a bad man, but he's not someone I want you near. Okay?" Kushina lowered her head to stare at her son's face. "Okay." Naruto nodded his head, not understanding what was so bad about the man, but agreed with his mother's request. As the two continued walking again, he looked up at his mother. "Hey Mom, when is my baby sister going to be here?" The baby should be arrive in a few months." She rubbed her stomach affectionately before smiling at Naruto. "So I'm guessing you're pretty excited about meeting her, huh?" "Uh-huh, I'm going to be the best big brother, and show her so many things," Naruto said excitedly as he pumped his arms in the air. "We'll go on adventures and have a lot of fun." Kushina giggled at his actions, but remember, that also means you have to be able to protect her as well. "Yeah. And I'll be the strongest around too. Anyone that wants to hurt her will have to go through me," Naruto replied with a grin, pounding his tiny fist against his chest. "I'm going to be as strong as those heroes in the stories you and Papa tell me." "Really? So does that mean you want to be a hero as well?" The redhead raised an eyebrow in amusement. "Of course, I'll be a hero that protects people from danger," Naruto cheered. Kushina smiled at her son's answer before speaking again. "So tell me, Naruto-chan, what do you think it takes to be truly strong?" "What it takes?" Naruto repeated in confusion. "What do you mean?" "Well, there are many kinds of heroes. Some are good, but there are some bad ones too," Kushina explained, catching her son's attention. "There are bad heroes?" "Yes, but they are not important now." She shook her head a bit. "If you want to be a good hero, there is something important every one of them must know." "Something important?" Naruto tilted his head. "What is it?" Kushina winked at her son. "I'll leave you to figure it out. Once you think you know, tell me." Turning back to the path, the mother smiled as her son was in deep thought. He was always very smart for his age. "I wonder what answer you'll think of, Naruto-chan." "I wonder what Mama means about being truly strong," Naruto thought to himself as he wondered what she meant. The parent and child continued to walk through the park in silence, making their way towards the park exit. But as Naruto got closer to the gate, he heard a sound coming from behind him. He stopped walking and turned around to face the forest. "That sound?" Kushina noticed her son stopped walking with her and looked back at him. "Naruto-chan? Are you okay?" Naruto didn't answer as he tried to focus on the sound. "It sounds like crying?" With that in mind, Naruto started running into the forest, leaving his startled mother behind. "Naruto-chan?" she shouted as Naruto disappeared from her sight, and his small form vanished from within the trees. Naruto ran through the forest as fast as his little legs could take him, following the sounds of someone crying. He could see a cave just up ahead, and as he drew closer to it, the sounds seemed to grow louder. The young boy warily stared into the cave, slightly fearful of darkness covering the interior. Shaking his head, Naruto put on a brave face and made his way inside. As he continued walking deeper into the cave, the sounds grew louder and louder. "I wonder who would be this far inside a cave," Naruto said to himself as tried to see through the darkness. It was a few minutes later down the path that he noticed a light. Running closer to the light, Naruto emerged from the dark tunnel and looked around in amazement. It was a forest. Was that dark cave just a pathway? Naruto examined the area and noticed there was a ceiling of some sort above the trees. He was still in the cave. But how is there light in a cave? He took a step towards the forest, and then another. Soon he was inside the sea of trees. As he looked around, that's when he saw it. Leaning against a tree was a golden scabbard with blue enamel around it. There also seemed to be some kind of writing on top of it. It was giving off a soft glow that seeped into the ground below it. Naruto slowly moved over to it, stopping when he was a foot away. He hesitantly reached out, bringing his hand back a bit before extending it again, and gentle placed his hand over the scabbard. Just as his hand brushed against the writing, the scabbard's glow began to increase, blinding Naruto for a second. But the light soon disappeared as quickly as it came, giving Naruto the chance to open his eyes. The scabbard was still there, but it felt like something was in his hand now. Pulling his hand back, the boy turned his hand around to see what it was. A girl? Naruto muttered in amazement as he stared down at what appeared to be a tiny girl sitting in his hands with her legs pressed against her chest and her arms wrapped around her legs. Hello, are you okay? His question seemed to make the girl flinch before she slowly raised her head to reveal a pair of sad green eyes. The girl was wearing a military-styled white dress with black linings at the bottom of it, 2 detached puffy sleeves and a black ribbon keeping her blonde hair, and as she also had armor on, a silver breastplate, gauntlets that reached up to the sleeves, and a pair of armored boots. Whose are you? The girl asked as she stared up at the boy with a surprised look. How did you get here? I'm Naruto Uzumaki. I came here because I could hear someone crying. Naruto answered with a smile. Was that you? What's your name? The girl silently stared at him for a moment before turning her head to the side, the sadness in her eyes returning full force. It doesn't really matter now. I'm not worth of it, so I have no name. What do you mean? Naruto asked in confusion as he put his other hand under the girl and lifted her to his face. How can you not have a name? The name I had was given to me by someone very precious. I was supposed to be his shield from danger, and I failed. Tears built up in her eyes as she spoke. Because of my moment of weakness, he fell in battle and the sword I was supposed to protect was shattered. Battle? What kind of battle? Who was fighting? Naruto asked, tilting his head to the side. The girl wiped her eyes as she started off, a sad smile on her face. How long has it been since that battle and me being placed here? 100 years? 2? I've stopped counting ages ago. Whoa, but you look so young, and that thing over there looks like it was just put there. Naruto pointed at the scabbard, which had stopped glowing, but still had its brilliant shine from the light. Why were you put here anyway after one mistake? Both the sheath and I do not age. We could be here for thousands of years and nothing would happen to us, she answered as she rose to her feet. The reason I was put here was because I failed, and this is my punishment. After all, no one would want a useless failure like me. That's not right. So you made one mistake, that doesn't mean you should be alone, Naruto said with a frown. You deserve to have as much freedom and happiness as everyone else. The tiny female placed a hand across her stomach and grabbed her arm as she turned her head away. If I did that, it would be because of the sacrifices of many people. Something like that would be unforgivable. Naruto and the girl were silent. Either one said a word as she turned around in Naruto's hands and was about to move back to her scabbard when she heard something that shocked her to the core. Then I'll forgive you, Naruto said with a smile, making her turn to him with a shocked look. Even if those people don't, even if the world doesn't, I'll forgive you. So keeping living on in this world as long as you want, doing whatever you want. The girl continued to look at Naruto in shock, not realizing tears started to build up in her eyes, not realizing her legs lost their strength, not even realizing as she started to cry her eyes out. The only thing she could comprehend at that moment was loss of weight she had felt on her shoulders. This child, even if he probably had no idea what she had been talking about, had so easily broken through the layers she put over herself with only so few words. To think, she called out as her crying died down, someone so young could say such things. Do you even know what you're saying? Of course I do. Naruto made an angry pout, but if you're really sorry about something, then you can be forgiven. Is it really okay for me to still be here? She asked as she looked up at Naruto with hopeful eyes. Can someone like me really continue to live in this world? Her answer was a flick to the forehead which sent her falling onto her back. Ouch. Well, what was that for? You dummy, I didn't mean someone like you, it can only be you. Naruto grinned at her, raising her closer to his face. If you want to live, then live, I'll support you in any way. You idiot, you only just met me, the girl shouted back, standing up quickly. Why would you offer to help me so much? Besides, you're just a child. Baka. Stuff like that don't matter. My papa always told me to be kind to people and never turn my back on someone when they need help. Naruto replied, A smile formed on his face as he continued to speak. So let's get out of here. The girl stared up at him for a moment, memories of the past going through her mind before she let out a small giggle. You're just like him. Huh? Like who? Naruto tilted in confusion. A man with an ideal and conviction unmatched by any other, who put his people before himself, and had the strength to lead his men onto the battlefield without fear. Wow, he sounds so cool. Naruto's eyes sparkled a bit. Who was he? What's his name? It doesn't matter, she said as she closed her eyes and shook her head. Raising a hand to her chest, she stared up at Naruto with a smile. If you truly mean what you said, then I shall live on. Really? The blonde asked excitedly. That's great. However, you must answer me this one question. Her smile turned serious, making Naruto gulp. In my past, I have been a part of a great many battles, so I have never seen what it would be like without them. So if I go with you, I may not get used to such things and I might possibly cause you trouble at times, but even so, I will ask you this. The blonde girl stared up at Naruto with determined eyes. Will you be my master, the man who I will accompany and swear my complete loyalty to? Naruto was quiet for a moment, not expecting her to ask that. He looked away awkwardly before speaking. Well, I wasn't trying to become your master, I just wanted to. Even so, you must take responsibility for what you said before, the girl said, her eyes seeming to have a bit of fire within them. You're a man after all. I'm only 7, he shouted back. That is irrelevant. I don't even know what that word means, but still. Naruto looked down at her for a second before moving her over to the scabbard and placed her on top of it, much to her confusion. Taking a step back, Naruto smiled brightly as he placed his hands on his hips. All right then, if that's what you want, then I'll become your master. But in exchange you have to do 2 things for me. 2? What are they? The girl asked with both curiosity and suspicion in her voice. The first one is easy. If you want to stay by my side, you have to be my friend, Naruto said with the smile growing at the tiny girl's confused look. While having someone serve under me would be cool, that's not what I want. I want us to be friends, almost like family. Is that weird? Yes, extremely. Her quick answer made Naruto's head drop, but she continued with a small smile. But I guess it would not be too bad. However, even if we become friends, I will always believe in your safety first before my own. That is not up for argument. That last sentence was already out of her mouth the second she saw Naruto's frown. Fine, I guess that'll work, Naruto muttered with his arms crossed. Though he was against what she said, he knew he wouldn't be able to change her mind. And what is the second condition? She asked, making Naruto's smile return as he remembered what he had been thinking before. He made his way closer to her and knelt down to her level, his face to her now sitting form. I want you to tell me your name. My name? She looked a little surprised at his second request. But I already told you, I have given up my name. Sorry, but that's my second condition. I want to know your name, Naruto said, closing his eyes while crossing his arms. I bet it's something really cool too. Very well, but I can't tell you my true name just yet. She ignored the disappointed look on his face as she continued. Until I feel that I am worth of it once again, I will go by another name. But I promise you by my honor, I will tell you when I am ready. I guess, as long as you promise you will. Naruto relented, before looking at the girl with a raised eyebrow. So what's your name now? Looking down at her scabbard, the very object she was born from, she seemed to be deep in thought. Before long a smile came to her face. Saber Lily. Huh? Saber Lily, is that your name now? Naruto asked as he tilted his head. Yes, from now on this will be the name I will live by. Saber nodded to herself, proud of herself, and placed her hands on her hips. Does that seem alright with you, master? Saber Lily, I like it. It's a powerful name, but at the same time it's cute, like you, he replied with a smile. Saber's face became flustered as she looked down, making her hair cover her eyes. Don't say such things. Huh? But why? He asked. It's embarrassing, she replied, looking up at him. I might be just a sheath, but I am still a knight at heart and in my soul. Such things are unsuitable. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. He didn't understand what was so embarrassing about it, but whatever. Shaking his head before speaking again. Alright, but that doesn't mean it isn't true. Mass Saber started to say but was interrupted by the blonde boy. Anyway, how do I get you out of here? There's no way my mama will let me keep such a thing, Naruto said as he rubbed the back of his head with a disappointed look on his face. That won't be a problem. Saber smiled as she beckoned him to come closer, As soon as he was about an inch away, she continued. All you have to do is place your hand on my scabbard once again and I will handle the rest. Just put my hand like this? Naruto asked as his hand placed itself on the golden object. That is correct. Now then, Saber closed her eyes and began to concentrate, glowing a bit before disappearing with the scabbard, which began to shine in a golden light once again before lifting itself up into the air, startling Naruto a bit and making him retract his hand. But the scabbard continued to flow in the air, before slowly making its way towards Naruto. Relax, master, it will not harm you. Naruto took in a deep breath and stared as the scabbard tilted itself and pointed its tip at his body. Alright, let's do it. The glowing object seemed to respond to him, and drew closer to him before slowly entering his body. Naruto's body glowed a bit himself as the scabbard entered his body and a warm, comforting feeling enveloped him. As the light died down, Naruto released a breath. So is it over? Yes, the merging was a success. Saber's voice was heard, making him look around to try and find her. Don't worry, master, I am still here. But where are you? And how come I can only hear you? Naruto asked as he continued to look around. You could say I am inside you, so now you do not have to worry about carrying me all over the place. Saber answered, when I am like this, I can communicate with you without others hearing us. That's great, Naruto said with a smile, but he looked a little disappointed. But does that mean you can't come out when you're inside me like this? Not at all. A small orb of light exited his chest before forming into Saber, but this time she wasn't wearing the armor and had two transparent golden yellow wings coming from her back. 1. How is this, master? Much better. Wait, you've got wings now? Naruto asked as Saber flew over to him and landed on his shoulder, sitting down as soon as she steadied herself. I think it is a result of my merging with you. But I have to admit, being given the power of flight is very nice, she said as her wings moved a little bit. So master, shall we leave? I would like to see the outside world after so many years. Alright. Naruto cheered as he stared walking out of the room, making his way through the cave. And you don't have to call me master, just calling me Naruto is fine. Very well, Naruto-sama. Saber smiled as she and Naruto made their way out of the cave. After a few minutes the two came to the exit, the light from outside shining into the cave. A few tears built up in her eyes as a peaceful smile on her face. So beautiful. How long has it been since I've seen the outside world? But you haven't even seen the outside yet, Saber, Naruto commented as he turned his head to look at the girl. He paused when he noticed a few tears falling down her face before turning away in silence. As he walked out of the cave, he wondered what he could say to her. It had been a long time since she saw the outside world, probably centuries. His thoughts were interrupted when he heard someone call out to him. Naru-chan. He turned around to see his worried mother make her way over to him as fast as she could, which was impressive for a pregnant woman. As soon as she got closer to him, she wrapped her arms around him as tight as she could. She released him from the hug and gave him a hard look. Where were you, young man? Do you have any idea how worried I was? Naruto looked down sadly and mumbled out an apology. I'm sorry, Mama, I could hear someone crying and... Crying? Who was it? Kushina asked in confusion, wondering how her son had heard a person crying this far out. She knew her son wouldn't lie to her, especially when it came to someone in trouble. He got that kindness from his father. Did you find them? Naruto was about to reply when Saber spoke up. Master, I would advise you not to tell her about me. Since we were the ones that merged together, only you will be able to see and communicate with me. The boy shook his head at that, a little sad he couldn't introduce his mom to his new friend. He looked back at his mother before speaking again. No, I wasn't able to find anyone. I see, Kushina said before standing up, being careful with her stomach. After patting her dress a bit, she stretched her hand out. Let's go home, Naru-chan. Okay. Naruto smiled brightly as he grabbed a hold of his mother's hand. The two started walking back through the woods. Saber was flying next to Naruto's head. Hey, Mama? Yes, Naru-chan? Kushina turned her head to look down. Remember before when you asked me what I thought was important to make a person truly strong, Naruto said as he looked up and lifted his hand towards the sky. I think I know it now. Really now? Kushina smirked in amusement, wondering what Naruto's response would be. So what do you think? A strong heart and something worth fighting for. Naruto clenched his fist, not noticing the look of surprise on Saber's face. I'm not strong yet, but I will be. Kushina was surprised at her son's answer. She didn't think he would say something so deep. And Naru-chan, she let go of his hand for a second before placing her hands on his shoulders. Huh? Naruto looked back at his mother. Is something wrong, Mom? Did I say something bad? No, I'm just surprised at your answer. Something like that isn't what I thought you'd say. Kushina smiled at Naruto before leaning forward and gave him a kiss on the forehead. Pulling back, she continued, "You'll grow up to be a good person. But I want you to promise me something." The boy nodded his head. "Sure, Mom, what is it?" "Don't grow up too fast. I want you to enjoy your life." She raised a hand when Naruto was about to say something. "You can still get stronger. Heck, I have no doubt your father would love to help you with that." It was true, even while he had a very busy job and was a loving father and husband to his family, Minato was still able to somehow find time to train with his martial arts. But if you grow up too fast, you'll miss out on all the great things that life can bring. I want you to promise me you'll have enjoy life, even when you start training, alright? Alright, Mom, I promise. Naruto replied with a smile. Good, and remember when an Uzumaki make a promise? Kushina said as she stood up straight. They keep it no matter what. Naruto finished with a cheerful laugh. Saber looked between the two, knowing full well what the mother had been talking about. It was something her first master had not been able to do himself. He had been too busy and pushed himself far in life, but he had never truly enjoyed the life he created for himself. As soon as Kushina grabbed Naruto's hand again, the two started walking. Good boy, now let's get home. Your father is coming home early today, so we're going out to eat. Alright. Naruto cheered again as they walked through the woods. Saber now moved to be sitting on Naruto's head. The three enjoyed the peaceful walk through the forest, not noticing a good distance away. A small figure formed from the shadows and their brown eyes stared at Naruto's retreating back. So that old scabbard has chosen a new master, the figure said to themselves before their bodies starting to disappear, turning into what appeared to be snakes. I wonder what kind of person he'll become soon. The figure disappeared as soon as they came, leaving the mother, son, and spirit none the wiser. Come on, Mito-chan, or we're gonna be late on our first day. Naruto called out from the entrance to the Uzumaki residence. Saber was hovering over his shoulder with her arms crossed. I'll be right down. A young voice called down from upstairs where Naruto and his sister's rooms were. Just making sure I have everything, Oni-chan. Naruto-sama, you have plenty of time before you both have to be at school. And you are both going to the exact same school, so I don't see the rush. Saber said as she watched Naruto put on his shoes. He was wearing his school uniform, which consisted of a black blazer with white accents, a white, long-sleeved dress shirt with a black ribbon on the collar, matching black pants and brown dress shoes to finish it off. It had been 11 years since that fateful day when Naruto and Saber met, and the events that had followed the two had been interesting. The two blondes bonded over the years and helped each other in many different ways. Naruto had gotten Saber to lighten up a bit and enjoy herself when the two of them were out and about, and Saber helped Naruto with studying, much to his dismay, keeping a cool head when needed. His training with his father, though the most she could do with that one was give out pointers and words of encouragement, and she also was able to help him with learning to fight with a sword. Now Naruto was in high school, transferring into a school called Kouh Academy for his third year, and to his parents' comfort it was also the school his sister was transferring into as well. Yeah, but I'm excited to see this new school. After all, until recently it was only an all-girls school, and it was also one of the best in the area. Naruto grinned as he thought about the school. Even when it was an all-girls school, there had been a lot of talk about the success rate of the students. I wonder what it looks like now with it being a co-ed school. They were putting up new buildings for the co-ed students, I think. Saber let out a sigh before giving Naruto a look. Just don't do anything perverted or that will get you in trouble, Naruto-sama. Come on, Saber, you and my mom would kill me if something like that were to happen. Naruto let out a nervous laugh as he thought about what his mother did to perverts. It was not a pretty sight. Besides, he had more respect for women than that, and inherited his mother's hatred for perverts, even though it wasn't as much. And when was the last time I got in trouble? Okay, I'm ready. His sister's voice called out, breaking his conversation with Saber before she could reply and making him turn towards her. Did I keep you waiting? Mito Uzumaki was almost a spitting image of their mother. She has red hair that reached just past her shoulders, but she mostly kept it in a high ponytail, and violet eyes. She was wearing the school uniform for the school, which involved a white long-sleeved, button-down shirt with a black ribbon on the collar, a black shoulder cape and matching button-down corset, and a magenta skirt with white accents. Nope, you got everything? He asked, to which she nodded her head. Turning his head towards the kitchen, he called out to their mother, seeing as their dad already left for work. We're leaving for school. Okay, stay safe you two and have a nice day. Kushina shouted back, getting smiles from her children. The two nodded to each other before exiting the house. They began walking down the streets, which was full of other students that were heading for school. Naruto had one of his hands in his pocket, and the other was holding his bag by his side, while Mito wore a navy blue backpack. Saber looked around in amusement as some students were actually running to get to school. The same was being said for a few adults heading to work. It is always an interesting sight to see so many people rushing off to their destinations so early in the morning. Saber commented as she flew above Naruto's head to see all the people up ahead. Some people are like that, Naruto said as he and his sister came to a stop at a crosswalk, waiting for it to turn green before continuing on. He looked down at his sister and noticed she had a nervous look on her face. Are you okay, Mito-chan? Huh. Oh yeah, I'm fine, she replied as she tried to give her brother a smile. But even if she didn't say anything, he already knew she a little scared. Mito was a shy person when it came to going to new places or meeting new people. It was only after she got to know them that she could really open up to people. You know you can always come to me when something's bothering you, right? Naruto said. I'm fine, Oni-chan, really. Mito put on a brave face as she said that, before seeing the look on his face before seeing his eyes narrow a bit. She looked back down with a sad look. I'm a little scared. This is my first day at this school, so I have no idea what it's going to be like. Naruto smiled as he reached out and patted his sister on the head. Don't worry, Mito-chan. She lifted her head and saw her brother giving her a reassuring look. Just take one step at a time and you'll be fine, but if anything bad happens you just call me and I'll come running. Mito smiled back at her brother before a frown came on her face. Hey, who says I need you to protect me? I'm a fucking Uzumaki. We're the most badass family in all Japan. Saber and Naruto's sweat dropped at her words. And you wonder why I refused to leave you alone with Tayuya. Naruto sighed as he recalled their curses worse than a sailor cousin before turning back to the road, but after a minute or so he felt a hand on his arm and he turned his head to see Mito was holding onto his arm without looking at him. Thank you, Oni-chan, I feel a bit better, she said as a bright smile grew on her face. I can always count on you, huh? Naruto smirked a bit. Of course, I'm your big brother after all. It's in my job description to watch over my cute, little baby sister. You don't have to add the baby part, you know, the younger girl exclaimed, before the siblings began to laugh together, ignoring the looks some people were giving them. As the two continued walking towards the academy, Naruto shifted his gaze towards Mito with a smile on his face before he turned back. I hope she'll be okay. Don't worry, Naruto-sama, Saber said from her spot on his shoulder. Mito will be fine, she is your sister after all. Yeah, you're right, so how are your powers doing today? Naruto asked with concern. For the past few days Saber's powers fluxed at times before returning back to normal, meaning his body would glow a little bit before dying down as quickly as it came. While Saber said it was nothing, Naruto was still a little worried. Like I said before, it is nothing to worry about. The energy bursts have all stopped. Are you sure you're okay, Saber Lily? Saber knew when Naruto said her full name that meant he was either very serious, or when he was really concerned about her. She nodded her head before speaking. I am fine, Naruto-sama, now come on. We need to get to school so you can find your classes, okay? Knowing she wouldn't budge, he sighed a bit before focusing on the road in front of him and his sister. The school gates were coming up on the right. Yeah, you're right. Letting out a breath, Saber closed her eyes, deep in thought about what she was holding back from telling her master. The truth was she knew what the causes of her bursts were. Even if she now resided inside Naruto, she could still pick up the energies of multiple beings of both light and darkness in the area. One of the abilities her scabbard had was to protect itself from any magic in the area. In this case the protection went to Naruto as well, hence the glowing. The glowing itself was a self-defense within the sheath so that its power, and whoever wielded it, would be undetected by supernatural beings in the area. She wasn't lying either about the glowing stopping, since her power was now basically cloaking Naruto, so he was safe as long as he didn't make contact with anyone dangerous. Hey Saber, check it out. The building doesn't look so bad. She snapped out of her thoughts at Naruto's words, taking a look herself. She had to admit, the academy was very nice and gave an illustrious feel and look to it. It had cobbled paths and even had a water fountain in the center of the courtyard in the front of the school. There was a main building in the center of the campus which was surrounded by other various buildings. Yes, I agree. I can see why you wanted to come here. It's certainly different from your last school, Saber commented as she examined the designs of the school's exterior. Wow, look at this place, Mito said as she looked at all the buildings. Everything's so big. Of course, this school needs to be, Naruto said as he walked up to the fountain after his sister, making sure to keep her in his sights. It does have students ranging from middle school to college. His sister wasn't paying attention, however, as she stared at the fountain with sparkling eyes. Wow, it's so pretty. Naruto shook his head in amusement before looking at main building. His eyes soon zoned in and he caught a glimpse of red passing by one of the windows. He wasn't able to think about it, however, as he felt his arm being pulled by Mito, Let's go, Oni-chan, we have to get our class schedules. Alright. No need to pull, Naruto said as he followed his sister inside, not paying attention to the stares he was getting from the other students. After the siblings reached the main office and received their timetables, they headed off toward where Mito's class was. After making sure his sister was okay one last time, the two said their goodbyes before Naruto headed off towards his own classroom. This time Naruto noticed the looks he was getting, jealous looks from the male students while the female students stared at his with red faces, but he was used to the looks he was receiving. The results of his years of training with his father and Saber had been very good to him. He was at a respectable height of 6'3" with a lean yet muscular body. Ignoring the looks he was getting, he looked down at his paper and then back up at the class signs. Let's see, it's Class 3A. Class 3A. Naruto passed by many of the other students that were in hallway and soon arrived at the classroom. Ah, here it is. Opening the door, he made his way inside to see all the students and the teachers were there. They turned to see him entering the room. The teacher spoke first. You're Mr. Uzumaki, correct? She greeted Naruto with a smile. Remembering what was on his schedule, Naruto knew her name was Mrs. Amiya. That's me. Sorry if I'm a little late, Naruto replied as he used his other hand to rub the back of his head. My sister and I start today and I wanted to make sure she got to her class okay. It's no trouble at all, family is important. Just don't make a habit of it, the teacher said before to the class briefly. Now everyone, I would like you to welcome Mr. Uzumaki, who starting today is joining Kouh Academy and will be with us for the rest of the year. It's nice to meet you all. I hope we get along, Naruto said, giving them all a small bow. Okay, Mr. Uzumaki, why don't you take your desk? It's right next to Miss Gremory at the window, she said as she pointed towards an empty seat. Naruto nodded his head and walked silently towards his seat. When he sat down, he looked to the girl whose name the teacher had said earlier and had a small blush grow on his face when saw her. The girl was incredibly beautiful, easily one of the most beautiful girls he had ever seen. She was a buxom young figure with a light skin tone and her eyes were a blue-green color. But what instantly caught his attention was her long, crimson-red hair that reaches down to her thighs, with a single hair strand sticking out from the top and a few bangs that covered her forehead and side bangs framing her face. It was same color as the one he saw at the window earlier, and he had to admit it was a very nice color on her. Suddenly he felt something hit him in the back of his head, courtesy of Saber, making him snap out of thoughts and noticed the girl had turned her head towards him and caught him staring. Sorry about that, I didn't mean to stare, letting out a nervous chuckle as he rubbed the back of his head with an apologetic look. The redhead giggled a little before resting her chin on her hands. Don't worry about it, I'm actually used to it. But still, I apologize, Naruto said as he extended his hand out. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, it's nice to meet you. Same here, my name is Rias Gremory, Rias replied in a polite tone as she reached out and grabbed his hand. Welcome to Kouh Academy, Naruto-san. After they shook hands, Naruto and Rias smiled at each other before turning back to face the teacher, Naruto not noticing as Rias gave him a glance from the corner of her eye. A little while later, Naruto stood up with a stretch as some of the other students started to leave the room for the lunch break. He grabbed the packed lunch he got from his mother that morning and made his way into the hallway, where he could see a lot of students make their way to either get something to eat from the cafeteria or find a place to eat. Taking a look outside, Naruto decided to find a good place to relax under the sun. Saber was resting within her sheath, which was normal since she usually did that when he was in the middle of class. With a smile on his face, Naruto started his way outside and made it downstairs, but before he could walk out the back entrance, he heard a voice call out to him. Oni-chan. Naruto turned to see his sister running up to him with her own packed lunch in her hands. Hey Mito-chan, what are you doing here? He asked as his sister stopped right in front of him. I didn't think you guys had lunch break the same time we did. Of course, it's the same school after all, Mito said, making Naruto scratch the back of his head. So are you going outside too? The blonde teen nodded his head. Yeah, I was thinking about finding a good tree to relax under. Is it alright if I join you? She asked with a puppy dog look. Oh, Naruto's eyebrow twitched a little. You don't have to do that, you know, it's fine. But don't you want to try to mingle with your classmates? But it's only the first day, I just want to get used to the school first, Mito replied with a huff as she crossed her arms. Besides, what about you? You're no. Oh, Naruto-san. A female voice called out, making the siblings turn their head to see Rias and another girl walking up to them. Going outside for lunch? Rias-san, Naruto greeted with a smile. Yeah, the two of us were going to go find a tree or someplace with a good shading. Huh? Two of you? Rias blinked before looking down a little to see Mito, who moved behind her brother when Rias came up to them. Leaning forward a bit, Rias gave the younger redhead a smile. Oh, hello there, I'm Rias Gremory. Mito just moved closer to her brother, making him frown a bit. Come on, Mito-chan, be nice, Naruto said as he took a step away. Mito looked nervous for a second before bowing her head. My name is Mito Uzumaki. It's nice to meet you, senpai. Rias looked a little surprised at the girl's sudden shout, but Naruto just let out a laugh while the second girl giggled into her hand. Naruto patted a blushing Mito on the head. Good job, Mito-chan. A little loud at the end, but not bad. He turned to Rias and the girl with a smile. Sorry about that. Mito-chan is very shy when it comes to meeting new people. I've been trying to help her out with it. Oh my, what a caring older brother you are, the second girl said in a sweet tone. She was definitely up there with Rias in the beauty department, and like Rias, she also had a very buxom form. She had long black hair and violet eyes and creamy-colored skin. Her hair was being tied in a long ponytail, reaching all the way down to her legs with two antennae sticking out from the top and sloping backwards, with an orange ribbon keeping it in place. Well, I try at least. Naruto rubbed the back of his head in an awkward manner. I'm Naruto, by the way, nice to meet you. The girl giggled again before speaking. My name is Akeno Himejima, and I hope your first day has been good so far. I don't have any complaints. Naruto shrugged before looking back at Rias. So are you two getting lunch as well? Yes, actually, we were heading to our club room to eat lunch, she replied, smiling a bit. We usually keep our things in there when we're at school. Cool, so what kind of club is it? Naruto asked. The Occult Research Club, Rias answered. I'm actually the president of the club, while Akeno is my vice president. Occult research? You mean like the dark arts of the Middle Ages and stuff like that? Naruto raised an eyebrow as he felt Mito grab onto his arm again. His sister had a fear of ghosts, which he used to have himself before he met Saber. That's right, but we also deal with the more recent type of supernatural subjects. Such things like devils, angels, and even yokai. That sounds kinda interesting, Naruto commented, not seeing the small glint in Rias' eyes as she moved closer to him. So, do you believe in their existence? Rias asked as she leaned forward a bit. Naruto's face reddened a bit. A strange tingling feeling went through for a second before shaking his head and clearing his thoughts before answering. I guess I do believe in them. After all, with an ancient and powerful magical spirit living inside you, it was kinda hard not to believe that other things like that could exist. Sorry, Rias-san, but can you take a step back? You're a little close. That seemed to surprise Rias a little before she took a step back with blinking eyes. Oh, sore. Perverts. Get back here and receive your punishments. The four turned to the courtyard to see three male students being chased by the female kendo club. The three boys rounded the corner and tried to escape, only for a few girls to already be there and capture the three before tying them up and pulling them away. Naruto and Mito noticed that no one seemed to react as at all when this was happening. So I'm gonna take a guess and say that this has happened before? Naruto spoke up as he and the girls watched the group disappear into one of the buildings. Unfortunately, those three you saw there are known as the perverted trio. Akeno explained, those three are the most perverted students in the school, so they end up in a lot of situations like this. I see, Naruto replied with a sweat drop. They had titles for perverts? It must seem like a paradise for them, I guess, being in a school almost full of female students. Maybe so, and what about you, Naruto-san? Akeno asked, raising a hand to her mouth with a sly look on her face. You must be enjoying it as well, being in a school almost completely filled with women. Well, I'll admit I would be lying if I said it wasn't nice. But I'm not really into peeping and stupid junk like that. If I do find a girl I'm like, then I'll say to her face, not do something perverted or stupid. Naruto crossed his arms before looking at the sky. We should probably finish up our lunch quickly. Break should be ending soon. Rias nodded her head in agreement. Yes, you're right. Well, I'll see you later, Naruto-san, and it was nice meeting you, Mito-san. Turning around, Rias gave Naruto and Mito a smile before starting to walk away. Akeno bowed her head a bit with a smile of her own as she followed after the redhead. Hey, Rias! Naruto called out, making the girl look back at him. I don't really like formalities that much, so you can just call me Naruto. The girl nodded her head. Alright, as long as you don't use san for my name too. It's a deal, Naruto grinned as he watched Rias and Akeno make their way to the old school building. Shaking his head a bit, the blonde looked down at his sister. Why don't we go eat? We only have a few minutes left. Those two were really pretty, weren't they, Oniai-chan? Mito asked her brother as the two made their way towards the trees. Yeah, they were. Naruto nodded his head as he found a place under a tree and sat down, his back pressed against the bark. I wonder what that feeling before was. Oh well. With a shrug, he placed his bento on his lap as his sister sat down next to him. Whatever it was, it's gone now. After hearing the school bell ring, the students made their way either off campus or to their club rooms. Naruto was waiting at the bottom steps for his sister to appear. After a few minutes she came down with a smile on her face, but she wasn't alone either. She was talking with another female student with long dark purple hair and hazel eyes. So it looks like she's made a friend. I'm glad. Naruto thought to himself with a smile. Saber, who had woken up a few minutes earlier, smiled at her master. What did I tell you, Naruto-sama? Mito will be fine. Mito took notice to her brother leaning against a wall and gave him a little wave before turning to her companion. See you tomorrow, Masao-san. It was nice meeting you. Yes, you too, Masao replied with a nod. I hope you enjoy coming here, Mito-san. Mito nodded her head with a happy expression before hurrying up to her brother. Hey Oniai-chan, did you wait long? Not really, Naruto said as he removed himself from the wall, so it looks like you were able to make a friend. Mito shook her head. No, she was just helping me out in class because it was my first day. I wouldn't call us friends. She went over to her shoe locker and switched out her shoes before turning to her brother. Her name is Masao Ayamashi, and she's our class representative, so it's normal for her to help me. Well, it's not like you're not going to be friends with her, Naruto commented as they started walking side by side towards the gates. All you have to do is have more confidence in yourself. But that's easier said than do. A loud voice cut her off. Hey, apologize. As they passed through the gates, they saw a regular street thug standing in front of a petite girl. She had white hair, with 2 long bangs going past her shoulders in the front and several loose bangs hanging over her forehead, while the back has a short bob cut and 2 black cat-shaped hair clips on each side of her hair. She was wearing the Kouh Academy girls' school uniform, but unlike his sister or Rias and Akeno, she didn't have the shoulder cape. Are you listening to me? The girl didn't say anything as she looked down at the ground, where a crushed candy laid on the floor. You were the one who bumped into me. She gave the man a blank stare, and then you made me drop it. Why, you little brat? You think you're better than me? The thug shouted as he lifted the hand with the bat, ready to swing it down. But as he was about to send it down, Naruto appeared in front of him, holding his arm from below with his right hand. What the? Attacking someone who is unarmed, let alone a girl. Naruto lifted the arm he was holding, pulling the thug closer before quickly raising the elbow of his left arm and ramming it hard into the man's stomach, raising the elbow upon contact to deliver a sharp blow to the thug's heart. The thug only had time to release some spit from his mouth before Naruto sent a kick at his supporting leg, making his fall onto his back hard. Naruto slammed a foot onto the man's chest, getting a yell of pain as a little blood came out of his mouth. You're really pathetic. Be glad I only bruised your organs and cracked a few ribs. Damn you, the thug tried to speak out before he felt Naruto press harder into his chest. Who the hell are you? Me? I'm just a regular student. Naruto replied with a smirk, and as a student, I am supposed to watch out for my kohai. Now I suggest you leave before I do a lot worse to you. He lifted his foot of the thug and took a few steps back. The thug slowly got to his feet, holding his chest as he glared at Naruto. You're going to pay for this. After that was said, the man ran away as fast as he could. Naruto placed a hand in his pocket as he watched the man leave with a bored look. Yeah, not the first time I heard that one. He looked back at the white-haired girl, who stared blankly at him with hazel eyes. Are you okay? Yes, I am fine. That was all she said before she looked towards the floor where her candy had fallen. Mito ran up to her brother and handed him his bag, which he absent-mindedly took with a small thanks. Naruto blinked a few times, following her gaze to the candy. Letting out a sigh, Naruto reached into his bag and pulled out a small box of Pocky. Walking over to the girl, he held it out to her. Here, you can have this. She turned back to him and saw the box in his hand, before looking back at his face. What? You lost your snack because of that guy and I doubt he'll get you a new one, so here. Looking back between Naruto and the box once more, the girl took the box. Thank you? No problem, I didn't want it anymore anyways. Naruto lied with a smile. He'd been planning on eating it later, but sometimes he was too nice. You're a student at Kouh Academy as well, so it's fine. I'm Naruto Uzumaki, a 3rd year. And this is my younger sister, Mito Uzumaki. His sister slowly nodded her head in greeting. Koneko to your 1st year. The newly named Koneko replied, making Mito look at the girl in surprise. She was 4 years older than her but still looked so young. Well, it was nice meeting you, Koneko. Naruto bowed his head a little before raising his head a bit. But we have to get going. We'll see you later. The white-haired girl only stares at the blonde, and his sister started walking away. After a few seconds her eyes went to the box of Pocky she was holding. She opened it and took out one of the Pocky sticks before starting to eat it, pausing for a second. These are good, Koneko said to herself before she continued to eat more of them at a slightly faster pace as she started walking back through the gates and heading towards the old buildings. As Naruto and his sister made their way down the path, two pairs of eyes were watching him from one of the roofs of the buildings. One pair of eyes belonged to Akeno, who had an amused look on her face and, if you looked closely, a hint of lust. She had her arms crossed under her, a little shiver going through her body as she recalled the burst of speed and power Naruto used against the thug before sending him crashing into the ground. Foo, he was certainly vicious with that man, wasn't he? Akeno spoke up as she laughed in her hand. I can see why you're so interested in him, Bucho. True, and that quick finish was something I've never seen a normal person his age do before. It was almost as fast as Kiba, but was that really his true strength? Rias said with curiosity evident in her voice. And during the break he was able to negate my charm magic, something I've never seen a human do. You think Naruto-san is not human then? That he is some kind of supernatural creature? I can't be sure, he doesn't seem to emit any sort of energy from him. Usually when it comes to sensing what a person is should be simple, since every being has a sort of presence to show what they are. Whether they are angel, fallen angel, devil, dragon, or even human, they all have a presence showing they're there. But with him it's different, it's as if he's not there. Rias explained as she placed her hands on the railing, thinking about earlier when he was standing in front of her. If she hadn't seen him the first time she probably wouldn't have noticed him. An image flashed in her mind of his smiling face, making a small blush form on her cheeks before continuing. I have to admit though, Naruto-kun is definitely one of the most interesting people that I've ever met. Akeno quickly noticed a blush on her friend's face. Oh my, is someone already starting to have a crush on Naruto-san? Or what would people say if they found out that the famous Rias Gremory was developing feeling for a human? Akeno said as she smiled innocently at Rias, who has now leaned against the railing. Who knows? It's possible. Rias gave her friend a small grin before looking back towards Naruto's retreating form. There's something about him that makes me want to learn more about him, she said, closing her eyes as a thought came to mind, and maybe he might just make a good addition. Meanwhile, Naruto let out a sneeze before looking around in confusion. Where'd that come from? I'm not getting sick, am I? I doubt it, Naruto-sama. As long as I've known you, you've never gotten sick before. Saber replied as she floated in the air. Maybe someone is talking about you. Maybe, huh? Naruto looked up at the sky and noticed an object with wings fly overhead, and whatever it wasn't a bird. The object quickly disappeared, making Naruto blink in confusion. Did I imagine it? Wait, what's that? Seeing something float in his direction, Naruto reached out and grabbed it. Bring it closer to his face, he examined what he caught. A black feather? It can't be, Saber thought as she stared at the feather with a calculative look. There's no doubt, I'll have to keep my guard up for Naruto-sama's sake. Oni-chan, let's go! Mito shouted a good distance away from him. Naruto shook his head a bit before looking at his sister. Okay, I'm coming. The blonde quickened his pace to catch up to his sister, releasing the feather from his grip. Saber followed after the siblings, looking back with a glance towards the feather, watching as it slowly hit the ground. It's been over 1 month since Naruto and Mito started attending Kouh Academy, and the two of them couldn't say that small amount of time hadn't been entertaining. Thanks to Naruto's encouragement, Mito was able to make a few friends in her class, though she was still shy at times when she talked to them. Surprisingly, Mito had actually gotten to talk to Koneko a few days after they had met, and according to Mito, the two girls got along really well even though Koneko seemed a bit cold at times. Naruto suspected that his sister was able to get the courage to talk to the white-haired girl because of the face that they were so close in age, but Naruto was fine with that, as long as his sister had no trouble with making friends. Naruto's time at the school had been interesting up to that point as well. He didn't know how it happened, but in just a week he seemed to become very popular, and when he had tried to ask Rias about it she had given him a smile and told him it was because of his actions on the first day. Apparently rumors spread about him defending Koneko from the thug, and that seemed to help him gain a lot of points with the other students. Speaking of Rias, from the second day onward the two of them had quickly become friends. It was weird at first because he would get this weird feeling around her the first couple of times before shaking it off, but soon the feeling disappeared and Rias started to act a little different, kinder and more honest, if that made sense. He had also got along with Akeno, who was with Rias most of the time he saw her, and people were talking about how the new transfer student had become friends with Kouh Academy's two great ladies again with the weird titles. At the current moment Naruto was in the gym, getting himself ready for a sparring session he promised with an underclassman. Naruto took a deep breath as he stared at his opponent, holding a bakken with both hands. Are you ready, Kiba? Whenever you are, Uzumaki-senpai. His fellow blonde replied with a smile as he too held a bakken in his hands. Kiba Yuto was a second-year student with short blonde hair and gray eyes, and like Naruto he wore the Kouh Academy's uniform for its male students. The two had met when Naruto had walked in on Kiba training by himself a few days ago, and after the two talked for a bit they agreed to have a match. Alright then, Naruto said as he shifted into a stand, his eyes going narrow and focused. Kiba took a stance himself as he stared down the third-year student. The air around the two blondes went quiet as they studied each other, muscles tense and neither moving an inch. From the sidelines the female kendo club were watching the two with red faces. Kiba and Naruto were both known as the two most attractive guys at the school, and for them to be seen together was any female student's wet dream. Adding the fact that they were about to fight with swords, and possible causing a sweat, only seemed to sweeten the deal for the girls. Don't hold back now! Naruto shouted as he dashed forward, surprising Kiba with his speed before slashing downward. The younger blonde managed to sidestep to evade Naruto's downward slash, before countering with a side slash, but Naruto quickly raised the upper half of his sword and blocked the attack. After holding Kiba's attack back, Naruto lifted his bakken until Kiba's weapon touched the hilt, and with a quick twist he pushed his opponent's sword back before attacking with his sword again. Kiba loosened his grip on his sword hilt before spinning to downwards and blocked Naruto's attack, pushing forward and moving swiftly to the side before attacking from the side. Naruto twisted his legs around and retaliated with a 180 spin, slamming one of his feet firmly on the ground as he blocked the attack. Sounds of wood clashing were heard throughout the room as Kiba and Naruto sent attacks at one another while at the same time blocking each other's moves. Members of the female kendo club were amazed at the speed and technique that the two boys were demonstrating. It was way above what any of them were capable of. The two continued sending attacks back and forth, trying to get the advantage on the other. As their swords clashed once again, the two seemed to measure each other, trying to figure out their next move. Kiba pushed Naruto away before leaping back and went into a stance with the sword level with his head. He took a breath as he quickly analyzed his opponent's form. His fellow blonde was good with the sword, really good. Naruto's skill with the sword was very impressive. Each blow he threw was accurate and effective, no wasted movements. Kiba knew that if he hadn't a devil then it would be obvious to who would have lost by now. Maybe he should go a little faster. Kiba crouched down a little more and his legs tensed once again. Narrowing his eyes slightly, Naruto shifted his stance and moved his bakken to one hand as he crouched as well, his eyes studying Kiba's stance before looking back at the younger blonde's face. The two seemed to be waiting for something, either moving from their spots as they quietly watched each other. Naruto tightened his grip before swinging his sword to the side and charged forward with a leap forward. Kiba reacted at the same time, bringing his sword higher as he charged forward as well. To Kiba's surprise, as the two swung their swords at each other, Naruto's bakken, which was originally heading towards his body, quickly changed directions and made contact with Kiba's. The two passed each other with a spin and came to a halt with their backs to each other. Everyone looked in amazement before the sound of something hitting the floor was heard and turned to see the top halves of Kiba and Naruto's bakkens lying on the floor. No way. Their weapons broke. I've never seen that happen before. Kiba looked at his broken sword in surprise, but his attention was taken away from it as Naruto called out. Sorry about that, I didn't mean for that to happen. He rubbed the back of his head before sticking his free hand out to Kiba. I guess this means we ended in a draw. Hopefully we could have another match again sometime. He aimed for my bakken with the exact same amount of strength I was using, and when the two attacks met, the force behind them made the swords break. But for him to have figured that out and execute it so quickly, Kiba thought to himself, but on the outside he just smiled and shook Naruto's hand. Yeah, Uzumaki-senpai, I look forward to it. Ma, you don't have to be so formal. You can call me Naruto, the older blonde said. Sure, Naruto-senpai. Kiba nodded before turning to the girls that had been watching. Sorry for interrupting you girls. We'll get out of your way so you can get back to practice. One of the girls stepped up with a wave of her hands. Oh, you don't have to worry about that. It was amazing to see you two fight so well. Thank you, but there are much better fighters than us. Naruto smiled before making his way out of the building. Sorry to leave like this, but I have to go help my little sister with her homework. The girls seemed to swoon a little at that. The fact that a strong, handsome teenager was so caring about his sister seemed to be a positive in their books. Kiba watched as Naruto left the building, thinking to himself with a smile. I can definitely see now why Bucho is so interested in him. Later that night, Ayan finished Naruto's side as he leaned back into his chair. After eating dinner with his family and helping out his sister, he had gone to his room to work on his own homework. Taking a glance at the clock, he saw it was just reaching 11. I guess it took me a bit longer than I thought. Naruto-sama. Saber called out from behind him. What's up, Saber? Naruto turned his around to see she had an apologetic look on her face. Hey, is something wrong? Naruto didn't have to worry about people listening in on his conversation with his tenant while they were inside his room since it was so late and his family was probably asleep. The tiny girl let out a sad sigh. There is something important I need to inform you about. Truthfully, I would have preferred to not involve you in that world and live a long, peaceful life, but with the way things are going, I have no choice. That world? What are you talking about, Saber? Naruto looked at his oldest friend with a confused look. Before I begin, Naruto-sama, I want you to know that I've only been holding back from telling you this because I didn't want you to be put in danger. Saber shook her head a few times before looking back at Naruto again. As you know, I am not exactly from the normal world you live in. The truth is, Naruto-sama, is that there is another world that lives together with this one. I should begin with the most important thing first. There are 3 groups of supernatural creatures called the 3 factions. Saber explained almost everything she knew about the devils, angels, and fallen angels' history. About the 3 races always fighting against each other, and the great war that took many lives from each side. She even told him about the sacred gears, powerful artifacts created by God to bring miracles, to enact miracles in the worlds. When she finished explaining everything to Naruto, the boy blinked his eyes in amazement. Wow, just wow, I can't believe such a world could really exist. I mean, I already expected it after I met you, but I've never thought it would be something like this. I know it's a lot to take in, but everything I've told you is true, Saber said as she placed a hand over her chest. I swear this on my honor as a knight. Naruto let out a breath as he slumped back into his chair, making it turn a bit. It's not an issue on whether I believe you or not, but like you said, it's a lot to take in, Naruto replied before he glanced at the blonde girl. Anyway, why are you telling me this now? It's because you've been unknowingly involved with the supernatural world recently, and I needed to tell you this now before something bad happens. Saber answered, now crossing her arms. Do you recall what happened before you started school? You're talking about the glowing, right? Yes, you see, the glowing was caused by one of the abilities my scabbard has. It's a way for it to protect itself from possible dangers in the area. That way it wouldn't be used by any supernatural beings that would use it on innocent civilians. Saber said, explaining some of her powers to her master. It basically acts like a detection filter, which means as long as you didn't make any direct contact with a member of the 3 factions, none of them would have even noticed you. So I'm guessing from that, I did meet someone then. Naruto crossed his own arms in thought, before remembering what happened after his first day of school. That black feather was that object I saw that day, one of those fallen angels. Correct, but I doubt they noticed you since you didn't make direct contact, and they weren't the ones I was talking about. Saber took a breath before giving Naruto a hard stare. I will be direct, that friend of yours, Rias Gremory, is a devil as well as a few other students in your school. Rias-chan is a devil? That caught Naruto by surprise, but the blonde shook his head before looking at Saber. But that doesn't mean threat, right? I mean, she's my friend and a kind person. Naruto-sama, I can't say what kind of person she is, nor do I know if she is a threat, Saber said before giving him a comforting smile. But if you want to believe in her, I won't stop you, but just remember to keep your guard up until you can say that you truly trust her. Understand? Yeah, I understand. Naruto nodded. And don't let your feeling for her affect your judgment, Saber added with a knowing look. Naruto's face went a little red at that. It was true that during the time the two of them had talked and hanged out, Naruto had started to feel something for the redhead girl. After all, she was his type of girl. She was kind, very smart, really beautiful, that wasn't faked by any means, strong-willed, and much more. Shaking his head, Naruto looked down at Saber. Don't worry, I won't, but I still believe Rias-chan is a good person. I understand, Naruto-sama. Saber softly smiled up at him. This was the reason she was happy she left that cave to be with her new master. There was something about him that gave off a warm feeling to others, like it made you want to stand by his side and believe in him, just like how it was with her first master. Saber quickly dismissed those thoughts as she remembered something else she wanted to talk to Naruto about. There is something else I would like to talk to you about. Seriously, Saber, any more information and my head might blow up, Naruto joked as he stood up from his chair, turning off the light as he made his way to his bed. So what is it? I want you to start training on using my power, so you can be prepared in case you run into any supernatural enemies, Saber said as she turned herself into a glowing ball before re-entering his body. The girl had already given her master an explanation on her powers, so she knew he had an idea of what she was talking about. That sounds cool, but how does that work? Naruto asked as he got under the covers. It doesn't sound easy. I guess the easiest way to explain it would be saying that we would be training you to use my power at will, and to do this properly we will need to be completely sync with each other. Saber explained, I will admit this training will be difficult at first, but as long as we work together it will be alright. Alright Saber, I'm going to do my best. Naruto replied before turning on his side. Good night Saber. Good night to you as well Naruto-sama. It's been 1 week since Saber had revealed the supernatural world to Naruto, and the two of them began their training for Naruto harness and control Saber's powers. The first day started with Naruto just learn how to bring the power out, and the second day was spent with them figuring out how long he could hold on to the power before reaching his limit. When the third day arrived the two decided that Naruto would finish up school and making sure Mito got home safely first before he and Saber would go into the woods to practice. This continued for the next few days and now Naruto was starting his 7th day. At the moment he was currently resting his body as he leaned back against one of the school trees in the courtyard. It was lunchtime, and he had a peaceful expression on his face as he listened to the wind pass by. Good afternoon Naruto-kun. Opening his eyes, he saw Rias looking down at him with a smile. I see you're by yourself today. Where Mito-san? Hey Rias-chan, yeah, a few of my sister's classmates asked her to join them for lunch. Naruto replied before noticing that the redhead seemed to be alone. So where's Akeno? Usually she's with you during this time. She had to take care of something, so I decided to spend lunch with you. Rias smiled down at the blonde before moving to the spot next to him. Is this spot taken? No really, go ahead. Naruto nodded as he watched her sit down next to him. He could still remember Saber telling him about what Rias really was. Mentally shaking his head, Naruto stated having a small conversation with Rias about some of the small stuff such as the weather, classwork, and other topics. As time passed, Naruto decided to check and see if what Saber had said was really true. So how's your club been doing? It's been going pretty well, we've been getting a lot done. Rias responded. There's never a dull moment either. Naruto looked at Rias with a curious expression. Interesting, so how many people are in your club anyway? We've got 4 members including Akeno and I, so what's with the sudden interest in my club? Rias asked as she leaned in a little closer. Are you thinking about wanting to join? Well, I can't say it doesn't catch my attention, a club that focuses on learning about the supernatural creatures of this world. After all, there are a lot of history and legends involving such creatures like angels, fallen angels and devils, Naruto said as he placed his arms behind his head as he leaned back against the tree, almost missing small twitch of Rias' hand. Stuff like that would be interesting to explore. I see, Rias replied before slowly turning back to look at the blonde. Naruto-kun? Yeah, what's up? Naruto answered, already knowing what Rias was thinking of asking. She was cut off by the warning bell ringing, telling the students that lunch was over and it was time to get back to class. Naruto quickly stood up and patted his pants, before turning to Rias and extended a hand out to her. I guess that's it for lunch then, let's get going. Right, Rias placed her hand in Naruto's, silently enjoying the warm feeling it gave off. She felt him lift her onto her feet and gave him a small thank you. No problem, you're my friend Rias-chan. Naruto smiled as he reluctantly let go of her hand, having also enjoyed the soft feeling of her hand. And remember this, even if you're not human, I trust you. Before the redhead could say anything else, he had already started walking towards the school building. Rias staying behind a bit as she stared at Naruto's back. So I was right, you do know Naruto-kun. Rias thought as she hurrying over to walk alongside Naruto back to the classroom. As the two of them did, a lot of the other students watched them with looks of both glee and jealousy. One of the 2 great gentlemen was together with one of the 2 great ladies, and this, everyone, is how rumors start to spread. Later that night. Alright Naruto-sama, as soon as we get to our training spot we'll do our usual drill before getting deeper in our training, understood? Saber said as she and Naruto traveled through the forest. Sounds good to me. Naruto replied as he continued down his usual route. Hey Saber, how long did it take your first master to learn how to do this? It's hard to say. He actually had a holy sword before he acquired my partner and I, so he already had experience when it came to that sort of thing. Saber had brought her hand up and made a thinking pose, but I have to say by the rate we are going, you should have a decent control over soon. Not really an answer I was looking for, Naruto thought with a deadpan tone before shrugging. Oh well, I try to master it in a month or 2. Naruto-sama, I think that's getting a bit ahead of yourself, Saber replied with a sweat drop falling down the back of her head. Nonsense, one of the best kind of motivator is when you set a goal for yourself. Naruto's eyes looked down at his clenched fist. I have to get stronger so I can protect my family and friends. You're very dedicated, Naruto-sama. Saber smiled at her master's dedication. He was the kind of man who would do anything to protect the people he cared about. Very well, tonight we will train even harder to reach your deadline. Speaking of friends, a certain red-headed devil was shadowing Naruto from a distance behind him. Truthfully, Rias had used her familiar earlier to follow Naruto after school for the past few days, feeling something had been off about her blonde friend. But for some reason her familiar was never able to follow him all the way to his destination, and after their conversation earlier, Rias decided to go herself instead. What could he be doing so far in the woods? Rias thought in curiosity as she stared at Naruto's back, thoughts to what he said earlier still in her mind. She was about to move again when she noticed Naruto coming to a halt. What is he? Wait, this is… Naruto-sama. Saber said as her body started to glow before entering Naruto's body. Yeah, I know. Be prepared just in case. Naruto thought back before calling out through the darkness. I know you're there, come on out. Impressive. Naruto turned his head a bit to see a man walking out from behind a tree. He had the appearance of a man in his early 20s with blue hair that was spiked upward and crimson red eyes. He was wearing white shirt with a black leather jacket over it and black leather pants, but what caught his attention were the two black crow-like wings on his back. I'm surprised you were able to detect me. Kind of hard not to when you're emitting a killer intent, Naruto said as he placed a hand on his hip. So by the look of your wings, you must be a fallen angel. That is correct, I am the fallen angel Abazath. Abazath introduced himself arrogantly. Cocky guy. Naruto thought to himself before speaking, so what business do you have with me? Very interesting, Abazath said as he started to walk closer to him, hands in his pockets. I was flying by and caught the presence of a devil, so I decided to have some fun. But I have to say that you definitely caught my attention a lot more. After all, even though I can see you're standing right in front of me, I can't seem to detect your presence. It's almost as if you don't exist. He was picking up a devil's presence in the area? Does that mean someone else is in this forest as well? Naruto's head was full of questions as he stared at the fallen angel. Whatever this guy picked up, because of that he made direct contact with me and has slipped through Saber's detection barrier. Naruto braced himself as Abazath stood an arm's length away from him. So tell me, boy. Abazath lifted a hand up and brought it under Naruto's chin. Just what are you exactly? What will you do, Naruto-kun? Rias silently watched the two men. When the fallen angel first appeared, Rias had thoughts about wiping him out quickly, but she stopped herself as curiosity got the better of her. Fighting someone who is a completely different species, show me your strength. What's wrong? Abazath frowned as he removed his other hand from his pocket. You should speak when someone asks you a question. All right then, Naruto said as he reached up and smacked the fallen angel's hand away from his face. Don't touch me again. How dare you! The winged man exclaimed as he created a sword created from what looked like a green light. As he swung it down, Naruto slammed the back of his fist into Abazath's arm with incredible force, knocking the arm away. Arg, what the he was cut off as he immediately dodged a spinning high kick aimed at his head, but was cut off guard as Naruto continued his spin and sent out another kick with his other leg that made contact and sent the blue-haired man flying back into a tree. Naruto lowered his leg as he took a breath, looking down at his hand and leg with a quick glance before his eyes snapped back to Abazath, who got back to his feet with ease. His body is much harder than I thought. I may need Saber's power earlier than I thought. I'm impressed once again, Trash. Abazath said as he patted his stomach a few times. You're very good at hand-to-hand combat. I should keep my distance. His wings flapped a few times before he shot up into the air. Just what's he up to? Naruto narrowed his eyes, silently signaling Saber to be ready just in case. Rias stared up at the fallen angel as well, a calculative look on her face as she watched the battle. Now then, Trash, let's see how well you handle against these. With a snap of his fingers, Abazath summoned two more weapons of light, a sword and a spear. Both started to shake like crazy as they pointed at Naruto. I hope seeing your dead corpse bring me some amusement, Trash. As he shouted that, the two weapons fired at Naruto, who stared up with a calm expression. He's just standing there, what is he thinking? Rias thought as the weapons drew closer to him, but the blonde teen didn't budge as the weapons of light seemed to crash into him and caused an explosion. Naruto-kun! There's no way he could. Impossible, Abazath muttered as figure could be seen through the smoke, standing perfectly straight. The figure raised an arm and swung it across its chest, dispersing the smoke to reveal an unharmed Naruto. But if you looked real closer you could see a very soft glow surround him. In his right hand was the light sword that had been shot at him. Just what are you? Naruto-kun, what did you? Rias mumbled to herself as she watched Naruto swing the sword a few times, as if to test its weight. He's still holding it. What? You sound surprised. Naruto said in amusement before looking back up at the man hovering above them. Can't you comprehend what happened before your own eyes? The fallen angel narrowed his eyes as he stared at Naruto. He was able to catch the first sword and used it to destroy the spear as soon as it got into range. He's no ordinary man. Shaking his head a bit, he called out to Naruto. There's no way you can be a devil. Who are you, boy? My name is Naruto Uzumaki, third-year student at Kouh Academy. Naruto spoke up as he shifted his stance, and to answer your earlier question, I'm human. A human? The winged man repeated before an enraged look appeared on his face. A filthy, insignificant human was able to not only land a hit on me but deflect my attack as well. What complete bullshit. Multiple weapons of light formed as he shouted this, each different shapes and sizes, formed around him. No way there's so many. Rias muttered to herself before shaking her head to focus. I need to stop this now. As much as she wanted to see Naruto's capabilities, the redhead cared more about his safety. But just as she was about to move forward and make her appearance, the fallen angel spoke again. All right, human, let's see how you handle my true power, Abaseth shouted as he released his weapons at Naruto. Let's go, Saber, the human thought as he spun the sword in his hand. Yes, sir, Saber's voice replied from within Naruto's body, before the teen's body to glow a bit brighter. Remember that your limit can't go over 4 minutes or else your body won't be able to handle the strain anymore. Yeah, I know, Naruto's eyes narrowed as he felt more of Saber's power course through him. His head cocked up as the first projectile, a spear, came towards him at high speeds. Naruto shifted his body to the side before catching the spear as it was about to pass him and swung his sword at the next one, causing both weapons to break apart. The blonde jumped back on the third before swinging the spear in front of him, knocking back a sword that spun a few times before landing in Naruto's free hand. One by one Naruto kept destroying Abaseth's weapons, whether it was by the sword in his right hand or the spear in his left. None of the attacks reached him. From the shadows, Rias could only stare in amazement at the level of abilities Naruto was showing. Behind us. Naruto snapped his head back and saw 2 weapons coming at him from the smoke that had been created from the destroyed weapons. As they drew closer, he flipped back and kicked them back into the air as they passed him. Taking note of a glint coming from the direction he kicked the weapons, Naruto quickly stabbed the spear into the ground before placing his feet on it, and kicking off with a lot of strength. Almost immediately a halberd of light crashed into the ground and caused several cracks in the concrete as it exploded. Naruto landed on his feet and moved to grab the broken halberd before it disappeared and with a tug, threw it into the air at another weapon. The collision created a giant shroud of smoke around Naruto, making Abaseth unable to see him. The fallen angel's eyes widened a bit when he saw 2 swords came towards him, spinning quickly as they got closer. But with narrow eyes, the winged man immediately summoned a sword of light in his hands and knocked the spinning weapons away. He looked back towards the smoke and saw that it was parting to reveal Naruto staring at the man with a hard look. Seeing this, Abaseth's body began to shake with rage. How dare you! Raising my own blades against me will be your greatest mistake. I shall tear you apart. Abaseth roared as he summoned even more weapons, this time almost covering the entire sky behind him in light. It's time for you to die. He still has that much energy left. Naruto's eyes widened in shock at the number of weapons, the glow around his body, and the strength he gained from it vanished. This isn't good. With Saber's power gone, there is no way I can handle all those. Rias turned her gaze from the weapons in the sky and turned back to Naruto in time to see him fall to his knees, panting from exhaustion it seems. It made sense since no matter what abilities Naruto had, the fact remained that he was still a human fighting a supernatural enemy. Deciding that it was time to stop the battle, a red seal appeared under her and quickly teleported her to Naruto's side, catching both him and his opponent by surprise. That's enough, fallen angel. She spoke with a chilling tone. Abaseth narrowed his eyes when he saw her. I won't allow you to harm him. Rias-chan? What are you doing here? Naruto asked, but his question was dismissed as her gaze never left the man floating above them. Was she the devil Abaseth was talking about? Devil, what are you doing meddling in my affairs? The Blackwing questioned as he lowered himself to the ground level, dismissing many of his weapons of light along the way but kept a few floating behind him. He is not part of your peerage and is still human, which means you have not business here. Rias had a cool smile on her face, the wind blowing past her making her hair rise itself into the air. That's where you're wrong. You see, this area is still my territory, and seeing as you're attacking someone in my presence, that gives me more than enough reason to step in. That red hair, I see you're the heir to the Gregory family? Indeed, would you care to test your luck against me? I can summon my peerage here in no time, or I can easily defeat you myself. Or you can turn around and walk away, it's your choice. Rias finished while crossing her arms. Abaseth looked between the panting Naruto and the calm Rias. I see very well then, I shall take my leave. Even as the man dismissed the rest of his weapons and started to walk away, Rias kept her guard up, not trusting the man to not try something. Sure enough, the man stopped walking and turned his head back to look at the two. But before I leave, I still require one thing. A wall of multiple weapons quickly appeared and shot at Rias and Naruto, the death of both of you. Naruto widened his eyes at the number of weapons heading toward them and called out to his tenant, Saber. Hi! Naruto's body started to glow again, and he raised his arm to send a large amount of energy in front of him and Rias. The gold energy formed into a giant wall of light and deflected all the weapons, surprising the devil and fallen angel. Rias took a step back as she felt the light start to weaken her a bit. She couldn't believe Naruto had this kind of power inside him. After the assault came to an end, the shield stayed there for a few more seconds before dispersing, revealing a shocked Abazeth. And to the red-headed devil's surprise, her power seemed to instantly restore itself, almost as if she was never exposed to the powerful light in the first place. That's impossible. For a human to be so powerful as sacred gear? He mumbled before extending his wings again and taking off into the air. I won't forget this. The next time we meet, I will kill you. Rias watched as the fallen angel's form disappeared into the distant sky, and after making sure he was definitely gone, she turned back to a heavily panting Naruto. She quickly went to his side and started checking him for injuries. Rias-chan, are you alright? Naruto asked as he lifted his head up to face her, showing her his tired face. Baka, I should be the one asking that, she replied as shook her head. What were you thinking, fighting someone like that? And what was with that power of yours? It looked like it took a lot out of you. Indeed, that's what happens when you try to push far more power than your body is used to. Saber's voice called out, the worry was evident in her voice. Naruto-sama, you must return home immediately and rest. Naruto nodded his head at that before turning to a concerned Rias. I'll tell you tomorrow, right now I need to SL. Before he could say anything else, Naruto lost consciousness from exhaustion and fell into Rias' arms. The girl stared at her unconscious friend with a surprised look before shaking her head a bit, a smile on her face. Naruto slowly opened his eyes, and the first thing he saw was a very familiar ceiling. He shifted his head to the side and looked around to see he was back in his room. He gazed outside the window from his spot on his bed and noticed it was morning. I'm back in my room? But how did I get home? Was it Rias-chan? Naruto rose up a little and looked down to examine his arm. During the battle, when he had been pushing back all those weapons, one of them had managed to cut him along the arm. But as expected of Saber's healing abilities, it had healed almost as soon as the cut had been made. That tiny girl never ceased to amaze him. Shaking his head a bit, he tried to lift himself off the bed, but was met with something holding him down. Blinking a few times, he turned his head down to see his blanket was now covering his waist and a big lump next to him, with a lump of red hair sticking out. Hey Saber? He called out in a confused tone. Oh Naruto-sama, good morning. Saber replied as she just woke up herself. She immediately straightened herself as she exited Naruto's body and reformed next to his bed, flying up to him with a concerned look. I was a little worried when you suddenly passed out like that. Luckily Rias-san was able to get you home safely. So it was Rias-chan. Naruto shook his head a bit. Never mind that. Did Mito sneak into my bed last night? Not that I can recall. Why? The two paused their conversations and turned to the moving lump. Naruto slowly grabbed the blanket and pulled it off the figure. The figure slowly raised their body up, not noticing the shocked expression Naruto had as they rubbed the sleepiness from their eyes. Good morning, Naruto-kun. The human was speechless as he stared at a naked Rias sitting next to him. His eyes went a little down as her large bounced as she moved her hand across her eyes before the gaze subconsciously started going a little lower. Leaning back a bit in surprise, Naruto realized he was sitting at the edge of the bed and lost his balance, and fell onto his back with the blanket following him. Rias stopped rubbing her eyes in time to see Naruto fall over, and she leaned over the bed's edge to look at him. Are you okay? She asked as she tilted her head to the side. Yeah, fine, never better wait. Naruto shot off the floor and pointed at Rias. Why were you in my bed? And more importantly, why are you completely naked? Rias shrugged her shoulders before answering. After I brought you here, I decided to stay the night, and to answer your second question, I don't really like to sleep with any clothes on. It's get too stuffy during the night, and sleeping naked is just more comfortable. Her gaze went down before a small blush came to her face as a smile appeared. It certainly appears you didn't mind me sleeping with you. Naruto blinked in confusion and noticed Saber was also staring at him with a red face. He followed their gaze downward to see he was naked as well, and little Naruto was standing at full attention. He turned his body away from the two and shook his head furiously as he tried to calm down. He could hear Rias giggle a bit before feeling her body press into his back, her heart pushing into his skin. It's okay, Naruto-kun, she whispered into his ear, making him shiver a bit from the feeling of her breath blowing into it. I don't mind if you look at me like this. In fact, I prefer if it was you. She had whispered the last thing to herself as she pulled away, getting a curious look from Naruto as he had caught what she had said. Rias-chan, is something wrong? He asked with a concerned look. She was going over to a pile of clothes she had left on his desk, putting on her panties first. It's nothing. Rias dismissed his concern and continued to put the rest of her clothes on. So Naruto, you already knew about the 3 factions before last night, didn't you? Yeah, Naruto moved over to his door and turned the switch and checked to see if it was locked, before moving over to put some clothes on himself. After putting on boxers and pants with a bit of difficulty, he turned back to see Rias was trying to clip her bra closed. Need help? Please. She turned her head to look back at him with a smile, before lifting her hair to make it easier. You know, you're actually taking this much easier than I thought you would. I would have figured you would be either embarrassed, confused, or even aroused. Naruto went up behind her and clipped her bra shut. Trust me, it's taking a lot out of me to not jump you or do anything perverted right now. I am still a perfectly normal teenager with hormones after all. Naruto looked to the side to see Saber was sitting on the windowsill with a small blush still on her face. But thanks to how I trained myself, I can control myself and hold myself back. I don't know if I should be impressed or disappointed, Rias replied with a teasing tone as she put on her skirt. So who told you about our world, and how long have you known about it? Not long actually. They were interrupted by a knock on the door, and Naruto called out in a hesitant voice. Who is it? Oni-chan. Mito's voice was heard on the other side, to which Naruto let out a sigh of relief. Ka-chan says breakfast is ready. All right, I'll be down in a second. After a few seconds, Naruto called out again. Hold on a second, Mito. Is something wrong, Oni-chan? Naruto turned to a fully dressed Rias. Want to join us for breakfast? Sure, it smells amazing. She nodded with a smile. Naruto smiled back before calling out to his sister. Mito-chan, can you ask Mom to add another plate to the table? I have a friend that stayed over for the night. Okay, I'll tell her. The sound of small footsteps heading down the stairs were heard. A friend, huh? Rias raised an eyebrow at Naruto, who was putting on a dark orange shirt with long black sleeves. It's the truth. Besides, it's not like I can say my devil classmate teleported me here after I passed out from fighting with a fallen angel that could summon multiple weapons of light with a flick of the wrist. Naruto gave a shrug. I guess so. Rias brushed her hair behind her ear. You're still going to have to answer my questions later. No problem. I will explain after we eat and find a good place to talk. Naruto smirked as he moved to the door and unlocked it, opening it wide and gestured, well then, ladies first. Rias giggled into her hand. Why, thank you. With that said, Naruto and Rias made their way down the stairs, where they were greeted with multiple reactions from Naruto's family as they watched him walk into the room with a beautiful girl his age. Kushina was shocked at the fact Naruto had a girl over, Mito was surprised to see Rias in their house, and Minato had a look of pride on his face. Naruto rubbed the back of his head as he introduced Rias. Everyone, this is Rias Gremory. She's my classmate at Kouh Academy. Rias, you already know Mito, and these are my parents Kushina and Minato. Rias kindly smiled and bowed to his entire family. It's very nice to meet you all. Hello, Kushina replied slowly before motioning for them to sit. I hope you're all hungry. Naruto moved to sit down in his usual seat while Rias sat in the open chair next to him. The girl was surprised to see such wide variety of food on the table. As soon as Kushina sat down in her seat, everyone started eating and conversing a bit. Rias guessed that since this was a free day, the family could actually enjoy their meals in the morning. The devil girl smiled to herself at the warm feelings she could feel from the family, before joining in on the conversation herself as Kushina had asked her a question. Later at the Occult Club. I must say, your mother is a great cook. Rias smiled with her eyes closed as she sat in one of the 2 couches. Naruto sat across from her and smiled as he patted his stomach. After eating breakfast, the 2 of them decided to head over to Rias' clubroom to talk, so after saying their goodbyes and finding a secure place, Rias had teleported them to the empty room since the other members would be out doing requests right about now. Yup, she's one of the best. Believe it or not, she used to be one of the top chiefs in Japan until 18 years ago. Really? Rias opened her eyes. Why did she stop? Well, according to her, the reason she even started cooking was because she wanted to make my dad fantastic meals. After a while it became a livelihood and a passion, but after she became pregnant with me she stopped. Naruto explained with a grin. She still loves to cook, so every now and then she whips up something special depending on the occasion. That's amazing, I'll have to eat more of her meals then, Rias said while nodding to herself. Sure, I'm sure she'll enjoy having you around more. Next time though, You shouldn't use your power on them, Naruto pointed out. Oh, so you noticed? Rias replied with an interested tone. What gave it away? Well, the fact that my mom didn't react more actively at the fact that I had a beautiful girl around my age stay the night in my room was a big clue, Naruto casually said as he leaned his head back. But I doubt my mom will have any problems with you, you're pretty likable. Thanks, Rias nodded her head, happy at Naruto's compliment. We'll see what happens later on. If you do decide to come over again, I'll have to cook something for you to try myself. Naruto noted as he thought back to when his mother taught him how to cook. You can cook? Rias asked with a curious tone. Naruto nodded his head at her question. Of course, having a mom like that kinda makes it a requirement. Interesting, well, I can't wait to try it. Rias commented as she smiled at Naruto before a more serious look grew on her face. Now then, back to the matter at hand. If you don't mind me asking, how did you learn about our world? You said earlier you learned about it recently, correct? The truth is that while I only really learned about the factions and all that almost a week ago, Naruto explained as he looked up at the ceiling, but while I only recently discovered it, I have known about that supernatural creatures existed since I was 7 years old. Since you were 7? Rias crossed her arms, narrowing her eyes a bit. That's quite a long time to not be aware of the dangers that could come after you. Naruto glanced back down at Rias for a second before rubbing the back of his head. It's not like it was by choice. Saber tried her best to keep me away from it as much as she could. Saber? Rias asked as she tried to recall a being with a name like that, but was unfortunately coming up with a blank. And who is this Saber? She's a spirit I met 11 years ago. It started when I was in the park with my mother. Naruto started to tell Rias what had happened all those years ago, finding Saber who was all alone, convincing her to live on inside him, and some of the situations that followed. Needless to say, Rias was amazed something like this happened to a young boy. For you to find something so powerful in a cave, I can't recall anything that could follow that kind of scenario, Rias said as she thought back to her brother telling her about some of the holy artifacts. And from the sound of it, this doesn't sound like a sacred gear either. Sacred gear, isn't that those powerful items given to human by God? Saber had told me a bit about them when she explained the 3 factions. Now that Naruto thought about it, Saber had been awfully quiet since they left his room earlier. So you already know about them, that's good. Less for me to explain. Rias nodded to herself before crossing her legs. So Naruto-kun, did you have anything you wanted to ask me? Now that you mention it, Naruto leaned forward and placed his elbows on his knees. Last night that guy had said something about a peerage. Care to fill me in? Oh, you don't know? I guess it would make sense with this Saber trying to keep you away from the fighting. Rias stood up and moved over to her desk and summoned a small box via seal. She walked back to the seats, this time sitting next to Naruto, and opened the box to reveal several chess pieces. But in order for me to properly explain it to you, I should first tell you about Evil Pieces system. It's a system that was created to repopulate the devil's numbers since we lost many of our own during the Great War. They're a set of 15 chess pieces that are given to top-class devils to increase their ranks by reincarnating other beings into devils. Rias started going into more detail about the different attributes and the pro and cons of each piece, making Naruto curious about the person who had thought up the whole thing. Wow, so from the few that seem to be missing here, I'm guessing you already have a few members in your peerage. Naruto looked at the chess pieces in the box. That's right, Naruto-kun. As you can currently see, I only have 3 members of it so far. Rias nodded enthusiastically. You already met 1 member of my peerage and my queen, Akeno. I also have another who is a knight, and the last person is a rook. But I can see another one missing here. It looks like a bishop. Naruto noted as he looked at the remaining pieces. There was a rook, a knight, a bishop and 8 pawns left, meaning she had 11 more members left to join her peerage. He turned away from the pieces to look at the redhead, and saw that she had a sad look on her face as she appeared to be in deep thought. Rias? She snapped out of her thoughts before shaking her head, giving a sad smile as she spoke. Unfortunately, my bishop is unable to be here at the moment, as much as I want them to be. I see, so what exactly are the members of a peerage? Are they considered slaves or something? Naruto asked, trying to shift the topic a bit. I figure if this is based on the game, then that would make you the king and the most important piece, right? That's correct, Rias nodded as she grabbed a piece, one of the pawns, and lifted up for him to see. It's just like you say, the ones that become part of my peerage serve under me. But it depends solely on the king on how they treat their peerage. They can see them as slave, as comrades, or even a harem depending on what the genders of the members are. And what about you? Naruto narrowed his eyes a little. Slavery was not something he was a fan of. How do you see your peerage? The Gremory family is well known throughout the underworld for being caring and looking after their peerage. Rias replied, bringing a hand to her chest. Our peerage becomes part of our family, and we never turn our back on our family. That's nice to hear, however, Naruto said as pointed at her. I was asking on how Rias-chan sees her peerage, not the Gremory's. Rias was surprised at that before shaking her head a few times before showing Naruto a beautiful smile, which caught him off guard a bit at how breathtaking she looked at that moment. The people in my peerage are precious to me and I will always protect them with everything I have, and I know they feel the same way when it comes to me. Naruto stared at her for a few seconds before he started to grin, glad to hear it. He stood up from his seat and stretched his arms outward. Thank you for filling me in on this, Rias-chan. It's no problem at all, Rias replied as she watched in amusement as Naruto twisted his body a few times. After all, you did answer my questions. Well, I should probably head home now. I've got some training to prepare for. Naruto said, clenching his fist as he remembered the battle last night. If it hadn't been for Saber's power and Rias' intervention, he would have died. He needed to get stronger in order to be ready in case he ever made contact with Abizeth again. He had to have better control of Saber's powers as well. Walking around the table and couches, Naruto made his way to the door. Hold on, Naruto-kun. Rias' voice called out, making him turn from the door to see she was now standing behind the couch and had a concerned look on her face. If you're worried about me telling people about you and your club, don't. Naruto gave the girl a thumbs up. You're my friend after all. Thank you, but that's not what I'm worried about, Rias said as she walked closer to him, stopping a few feet away and reaching her hand towards his cheek. That fallen angel will definitely come after you again, because even if your power doesn't come from a sacred gear, they don't know that and will see you as a threat. Then I'll just get stronger, Naruto replied as took a hold of Rias' hand. You saw how I did against him. I just need to get stronger, so I can protect not only myself but also the people he could harm trying to get to me. I understand, but let me ask you this, what can you do as a human? While your abilities are incredible, there is no way you could stand a chance facing him again if he brings allies with him next time. Rias' thumb brushed along Naruto's cheek. Then what do you suggest I do? Naruto replied with his own question. I can't stand back and do nothing. Get allies of your own, Rias said as she took a step back. Become a part of my peerage. Me become a devil? Naruto narrowed his eyes with a suspicious tone. Does that mean you've been wanting me join you for a while? Because this seems really convenient. I will admit, I've been interested in you since the day we met. Rias answered without hesitation, her blue-green eyes staring into his own. But right now I am not asking you as a devil, I'm asking as your friend and someone who doesn't want to see you hurt. Naruto had a serious look on his face before a small bit of amuse broke through. If anyone else were to hear those words, they would think you were trying to tell me something. Maybe I am, Rias countered with a seductive look as she once again moved close to him, pressing her impressive bust against him and wrapping her arms around his neck. Like I said, I've been interested in you for a while now and I refuse to lose you, whether it's by the hands of a fallen angel, or even to another devil's peerage. Rias-chan, Naruto muttered as he stared into the red-haired devil's eyes, you do know I am not affected by your spell, right? Of course I do, but I'm not using them on you at the moment. She said, right now I'm asking you this with only my words and my honest feelings. Do you really want me to join that much? Yes, I do. So what do you say, will you become mine? Rias asked, but whether or not if she meant more to what she had said was unknown to Naruto. The blonde turned his head with a sigh before reaching up, his hand brushing against her soft hair as it went up, and rubbed the side of his head. As much as I don't like the thought of serving someone, for some reason I don't think it will be so bad with you. As Naruto said this, Rias' smile grew. So do you have a specific piece in mind for me? Well, each piece has a pro and con to them, and the ones I think would benefit you the most would either be a knight or a rook. However, Rias released Naruto from her hold and moved back to the table where her evil pieces were. There are rare times when a devil can get a rare piece called a mutation piece, and the fact is that only 1 out of 10 devils actually have a chance to acquire one. Naruto let out a whistle. Wow, that is rare. So I'm guessing you have a mutation piece then? That's only half right. You see, I managed to receive not 1, but 2 mutation pieces. One was a bishop piece, which I had told you about earlier, and the other was this one. Rias lifted her hand to reveal the knight piece she had. So I'm guessing that's the one for me. Naruto mused, getting a nod from Rias. Are you sure? I mean, that kind of piece must be very powerful. You could save it for someone with much more potential. No, I'm sure. I've seen you in battle, so it is easy to determine that this piece is the best choice. Rias replied, thinking about Naruto's speed and power yesterday, imagining what would happen if that was boosted by a mutation piece. Naruto was quiet for a moment before nodding his head. Okay, so how does this process work? Do we need to do a blood pact or something? No, nothing like that. All you have to do is stand still. I just recite the words needed to reincarnate you and the piece will then enter your body, then the process will begin. Rias explained as she moved in front of Naruto and raised the hand holding the mutation piece. Are you ready? As ready as I'll ever be, Naruto replied, making her nod her head once again. Alright then, let's get started creating a seal under Naruto. Rias channeled her energy through her body and two black bat-like wings spread out from behind her back. Rias took a deep breath and began to say, speak. I, Rias Gremory, command under my name for thee, Naruto Uzumaki, to become my servant and lead a new life as my knight. The knight piece in Rias' hand floated up and moved in front of Naruto, glowing a powerful red as it drew closer. Wait, Naruto-sama. You must stop this immediately. Saber's voice called out, making Naruto blink his eyes in confusion, not noticing as the knight piece started to spark. Huh! Was all Naruto could say before his body began to glow just as the knight made contact with his body, causing a small explosion to occur, and made Rias cover her eyes. Aya! The sound of someone yelling was heard, followed by something crashing through the wall. Rias slowly opened her eyes before a shocked look appeared on her face. On the floor where Naruto had been standing was the knight piece laying on its side. A giant hole was right next to the door to the hallway, and Naruto could be seen on the other side of it with his back to the hallway wall and his feet stuck in the air. His body twitched as smoke came off his body. Naruto-kun! Rias shouted as she quickly dismissed her wings before rushing through the hole towards Naruto's body. Are you alright? Naruto let out a few coughs before replying, I'm alright. Was that supposed to happen? As soon as he finished saying that, Naruto lost consciousness, startling Rias and Saber. Naruto-kun/Naruto-sama! They cried out at the same time. I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun, I didn't mean for that to happen, Rias said as she held a now conscious Naruto's head on her lap. After getting Naruto back into the club room, Rias was about to send her familiar to send for a healer, but was surprised to see Naruto's body glow for a second before instantly restoring itself, and after a few minutes he was awake again. It's okay, Rias-chan, it's not like you knew it would happen, Naruto reassured her, reaching his hand up and placing a hand on her cheek. I'm just wondering what happened. Maybe I should explain. The two turned to see Saber floating above them in a bowing position. It's because of my power. Huh? Who is that? Rias asked in surprise as the girl appeared out of nowhere. Saber? Naruto raised an eyebrow before realizing what Rias had said and turned to face her. Wait, you can see her? But how? Of course I can see her. Rias noticed Naruto's surprised look. What? Rias, this is the spirit I was telling you about. The one that resided within the scabbard. Naruto pointed over at Saber. This is Saber Lily. Wow, I've never seen a spirit so small before. Rias got closer to the flying girl and examined her. It's almost like she's a familiar, but how can I see her? It's thanks to you trying to make Naruto-sama a part of your peerage, and turning him into a devil, Saber said as she lowered herself onto the table in front of them. Naruto-sama, do you remember what I told you before about my scabbard's power a few nights ago? Yeah, you said that it can protect me from all magic, and nothing can penetrate its defense, Naruto said as he recalled what Saber had said to him that night. Is that what happened? You rejected her power? It's still incredible to hear. Can a defense that powerful really exist? Rias thought to herself as she stared at the tiny girl before recalling last night when Naruto had used that very power to protect them from Abezetha's attack. Something that can reject all magic. That is technically what was supposed to happen, however you were willingly accepting it into you, so it reacted differently than it was supposed to, Saber explained as she sat on the edge of the table before placing one leg over the other. When my defense activated, instead of rejecting the piece entirely, it allowed you to just absorb the evil piece's power. Wait, does that mean I did become a devil? Naruto asked, Rias nodding her head at the question. After bringing Naruto into the room, she had gone to check the mutation piece and was shocked to see that Naruto had somehow absorbed all the power inside the piece, turning it into a regular chess piece, which meant she had to see if she could get a new knight piece. That is correct, you were successfully reincarnated into a devil, Saber answered before raising a hand over her chest. But because of my influence, your new body has certain advantages to it that normal devils do not have. Can something like this really be possible? Naruto asked Rias in confusion, raising himself from her lap and looked at her. The redhead had a hand to her mouth in a thinking pose. I don't know, this has never happened before as far as I know, and the fact you were able to reincarnate from the power of an evil piece without becoming a part of my peerage should be impossible. Rias looked up from her deep concentration. Try summoning your wings. And how do I? He was cut off as a pair of bat-like wings similar to the ones Rias had shown him earlier erupted from his back. But unlike her black ones, these wings were gold in color. Whoa, that was easy. Interesting, I've never seen devil wings in this color before. Rias muttered as she reached out and softly grabbed the wing closest to her. Naruto shivered as she rubbed it a bit, but even with the different color, they still feel like regular wings. Rias-chan, can you please stop? Naruto barely asked, catching Rias' attention, and looked at him to see he had a slightly red face. That feels kinda weird. Oh sorry, Rias apologized with a blush of her own as she let go of his wings. If you want to put them away, just imagine them gone. Alright, Naruto focused on making his wings go away, and with a gold flash they disappeared. As soon as they did, he looked over at Saber. So now that I'm a devil, what were those changes you were mentioning before? Saber coughed into her hand as she closed her eyes. I can't be too certain, because this is the first time I've belonged to someone who became a devil, which should be impossible to begin with. What do you mean? Naruto asked as he leaned forward. Naruto-sama, there's something I left out when I was telling you about the 3 factions and the sacred gears. It involves my creation. Saber said as looked up at the two. My power influences my wielder's body, and increases the properties of light in their body so they can use both my partner and I effectively. It is because of that and my defensive power you were able to grab and control those weapons in that battle with Abazath. That is the normal requirement for someone to be able to fight with a holy sword, Rias said as she crossed her arms and stared hard at Saber, feeling as if there was something she was forgetting. I was created to be partner with a holy sword, but not just any one of the 4 holy swords created by the original god himself. Rias gasped after Saber said that, making Naruto turn to her with a confused look. What? Did you figure something out? Naruto asked, but was ignored as Rias stared at Saber in shock. Rias? Naruto-kun, based on what you told me about Saber's past, the sword she had been partner with was destroyed, right? The blonde nodded his head at her question. There has only been one sword that could fit that description if it really is one of the 4 holy swords, the sword of promised victory, Excalibur. Nani? You mean the sword from the King Arthur stories? Naruto called out before looking down at Saber in shock. Saber, that was the partner you were talking about. The tiny girl was silent as she nodded her head in confirmation. Wow, that's incredible to think I had such a legendary partner this whole time. Naruto mused as he leaned back into the couch. Unreal, to think I'd be face to face with the scabbard of Excalibur, Rias said as she leaned closer to Saber and examined her form. It's almost hard to believe this tiny girl is Avi. The redhead was interrupted as she felt Naruto grab onto her shoulder, catching her attention, and turned her head to see he hadn't finger pressed to his lips. Naruto-kun? Sorry, Rias-chan, but can you not call her by that name? He asked with a smile, making Saber look up at him in surprise. After all, Saber and I agreed that when she felt that she was ready she would tell me her true name. Until she does, her name is still Saber Lily. Thank you, Naruto-sama. Saber bowed her head in thanks. Rias looked back and forth between the two before nodding her head. I guess that's fine. I was going to suggest we keep it a secret for now anyways. We have no idea what you're capable of with Saber's power influencing your own. This is uncharted territory for any devil, so I don't know how much I can help. Then we'll just have to take it one step at a time. Naruto replied before a thought came to mind, and if you want to, you can tell your peerage too, just make sure they keep quiet about it too. I appreciate that. But while we're talking about it, what happens to me now? I mean, since I am not part of your peerage? Naruto asked as he sent the girl a curious look. Well, I guess you could become an independent devil, though you would be a low-level devil until you boosted your rank, but still, the female devil released a heavy sigh as she pouted, it a real disappointment, and I was so close to having a powerful ally to join my peerage too. While I might not be able to join your peerage, that doesn't mean I can't be your ally. And I can still join the Occult Research Club too, Naruto said as he tried to cheer the girl up. You're my friend Rias, and I always do my best to help them out when they need it. Thank you, Naruto-kun, I know I can count on you. The Gremory heir looked at Naruto before nodding her head with a smile. Do you swear to always be there for me when I need you? Of course. I promise you right now that I will be by your side no matter what. The two didn't notice as their hands moved closer to each other, and believe me when I say that when an Uzumaki makes a promise, they always keep it no matter what happens. I'll hold you to that, Rias said as she moved her body a little closer to his and rested her head against his shoulder. And Naruto-kun, I promise that neither my peerage nor I will never turn our backs on you. Saber smiled at the scene, before her attention shifted to a seal appearing at the door. Thanks, Rias-chan. Naruto replied as he sat still, the two of them enjoying the quiet atmosphere. But it quickly ended as a voice came from directly behind them. Foo, well now you two seem pretty comfortable. The two turned around to see Akeno leaning over them, making the two jump back in shock. Akeno, when did you get here? Rias asked as she stood up to face her queen. Just in time to see you cuddle up to Naruto-kun here. The ponytailed girl smiled in amusement before turning to Naruto. So I take it you're now a part of Bucho's peerage, Naruto-kun. Not exactly. Naruto rubbed the back of his head when he saw the confused look on Akeno's face before he and Rias began to explain to her what happened the night before to what happened just before she arrived. When they finished explaining the situation to her, Akeno was now sitting on the couch, drinking some tea that she made for the three of them. I see now, this is definitely something new. But Bucho, we should keep this information away from Kiba for now. Rias nodded her head with a serious face. Yes, I agree, there is no way to tell how he would react to this. Are you talking about Kiba Yuto? Naruto's thoughts turned to the other male blonde. He shared the title of Kouh Academy's two great gentlemen with. Okay, seriously, what was up with these weird titles? So he's a member of your peerage as well? Correct, he's my knight. Rias replied back. He's great with speed attacks and using swords. That is true, he did pretty well when we sparred the other day. I guess this explains how he got so good to begin with. Naruto raised an eyebrow at the two women before looking down at his tenant. Saber was eating a cookie that was as big as she was. Apparently the spirit could now eat and drink like a normal person, though it seemed like she could eat a lot even though she had such a small body because that was actually her second cookie. Shaking his head in amusement, he turned back to the female devils. But why would Kiba have a problem with Saber? I mean, she has control over light, but still. While light is very dangerous to us devils, it is not the problem. Kiba has a deep hatred for holy swords, but the hatred he has for Excalibur is much greater than he has for any other. That caught Saber's attention as she looked at Akeno in surprise. If he were to find out that Saber-san here was related to Excalibur in such a way, it might not end well. Why would he hate them so much? Naruto asked. Excalibur was destroyed centuries ago, and Saber has been in a cave by herself since it shattered. The tiny girl had let go of her cookie and silently placed her hands in her lap, a sad expression on her face. It's not our secret to tell, Rias answered as she shook her head with a sad expression, but until he can let go of his hatred, we should try to hold this information back as long as possible. For now we can just say Saber is a holy artifact you found as a child. I guess so. Naruto slumped back into the couch. So when do I meet the other members? They should be here in a little while. I'll explain more about a devil's duty while we wait. Rias had a sly smile grow on her face, one that Akeno knew well. But during that time, tell me, Naruto-kun, how good are you at chess? Man, what was a pain that was, Naruto grumbled as he walked along the path towards the Occult Club building. He had just gotten back from handing out flyers. According to Rias, he had to set up his own contracts to boost up his ranking. So far he has made several in the past 3 weeks since he became a devil. Some of them were pretty simple, like babysitting for couples' children while they went out for a date night, helping men out with construction, and even helping cooking meals for a housewife and her family while she took care of the housework. But there were others that were weird, like that one college student who wanted him to do several poses while shirtless for a few paintings she had been doing. Okay, so maybe that doesn't sound too bad, but she kept drooling and having a nosebleed whenever she looked at him, so it had taken her a bit longer to finish her work. Shaking his head, he continued walking, mentally tossing out the images in his head. Anyway, he did have to worry about his sister since Mito had already made it home by the time he already started passing out flyers. Maybe one day she could enjoy her time after school with a friend or maybe a club of her own, hopefully not as dangerous as his was though. As he passed one of the buildings to reach the woods, the sound of giggling was heard, perverted giggle. Narrowing his eyes a bit, he followed the sound and found 3 familiar boys peeking through the window, each giggling rather perversely, and were wiping away small trails of blood from their noses, while only 2 were looking while the third was trying to move them to see. He didn't need to see what they were looking at, already knowing that this was the female kendo club's changing room. After the match he and Kiba had, a few of the girls would ask them to show them some pointers, so Naruto could recognize some of the voices that were coming from inside the room. Silently sneaking up on the 3, he stopped as soon as he was standing directly behind them. Raising a fist to his open hand, he began to crack his knuckles. The sounds were heard by the 3, now frozen, perverts. They slowly turned around in fear, which only grew as they saw Naruto's smiling face. This, however, was not what scared them, as a dark aura seemed to flow around him. So tell me, what's a good reason to not pound you 3 into the ground? Naruto had said this loud enough for the girl inside to hear. They quickly got changed and headed outside in time to see Naruto standing over perverted trio, who were lying on the ground with giant lumps on each of their heads. Seriously, it's almost every day with you 3. Shut up, like you can talk. You have a girlfriend, so you wouldn't understand. The one with glasses, Motohama, shouted as he pointed up at Naruto. G-girlfriend? I don't have a girlfriend, Naruto replied. Don't lie. The nearly bald-headed one, Matsuda, exclaimed. Everyone is talking about how you and Rias Gremory are dating. I've even seen you walking with her while holding her bag. Naruto's eyebrow began to twitch. Just what does that have to do with it? Shaking his head, Naruto shook his head before speaking. Listen, I don't. You three be quiet. One of the kendo girls shouted as she and the others ran up to Naruto's side. Don't try to turn this on Naruto-kun, just because he isn't a pervert like you three. Yeah. The other girls shouted as they started beating the three with their kendo sticks, making Naruto's sweat drop a little at the scene. With a sigh, the blonde turned around and started walking away, listening in on the screams of pain the trio was shouting from their punishment. It's times like this that I'm glad I was raised how I was. Naruto scratched the side of his head as he once again continued his way towards the old building. I hope I get some time to relax before I'm requested again. Oh, Naruto-senpai. Naruto turned around to see Kiba walking up to him. Are you going to the clubroom as well? The older blonde nodded his head. Yeah, I just finished handing out flyers for today, so I'm just going to relax a bit before someone summons me. I'm surprised you didn't just teleport back to the club, Kiba said. Well, it was a nice day, so I figured I'd just enjoy the walk, Naruto replied as he gave a shrug. Unlike most devils, while the daylight annoyed Naruto a little, it didn't bother him as much as the others. Rias suspected it was thanks to Saber, and the addition she had talked about. Somehow he didn't receive any of the weaknesses that devils had when it came to light. But they still needed to see if things like crosses and other holy items had an effect on him. Besides, you're walking there too. True, but I just figured it'd be a waste since I was so close to it anyway, Kiba said with a smile. The two made their way towards the building and started to walk inside. They walked up the stairs and arrived at the door, but as Naruto reached for the doorknob and grabbed it, Kiba's symbol began to glow. Looks like someone is summoning me. I'll be back in a bit. Alright, see ya. With a nod in response, a seal appeared below Kiba and teleported him away. Naruto turned back to the door and opened it before going inside. I'm back. Oh, welcome back, Naruto-kun. Akeno greeted the blonde as she looked away from the chessboard that was on the table. I take it you finished handing out flyers? Yeah, it's a major pain in the ass. Naruto grunted as he started walking over to one of the couches. Hearing the sound of running water, the blonde devil turned his head to the direction of the shower. So I'm guessing Rias-chan is in the showers? That's right, she should be out in a little bit. Akeno brought a hand to her mouth as she grew a small smile. If you want to take a peek, I don't think she'll mind. Naruto looked back at her for a second before shrugging his shoulders. Nah, I'll just wait for her out here. As he sat down and rested against the couch's soft cushions, a whistling sound could be heard throughout the room. It's interesting how much control you have. Akeno smiled before she walked away, making her way towards the steaming teapot. Tell me, Naruto-kun, do you go for the other team? Naruto's face went pale white at that, before turning to look at the buxom devil's back and shouting out, "No way in hell. I like women." Alright then, Akeno called back as she poured tea into several cups, picking up two and bringing them back to the table. Here you go. Thank you. Naruto took one of the cups from Akeno with a slow nod before taking a sip of the tea. This is pretty good. Where did you get it? I made it actually, Akeno said as she sat down next to him. Sometimes this is good for most requests I do. Really, like what? The blonde looked at his classmate with a curious expression. He already knew that Rias only worked with the more high-class jobs like removing curses or destroying monsters. Kiba's requests usually involved older or working women who needed someone to talk and vent to or cook for them, and Koneko's ranged from playing cards to posing in cosplay. But he never really found out what Akeno did for her requests. He wondered what she did. I mostly help my client relieve their stress using different methods. Drinking tea and listening to their troubles is one of them, Akeno explained with a smile. Relieving stress, huh? Naruto took another sip of his tea, thinking about what Akeno had said. Sounds kinda nice, helping people with their worries. Yes, it can be. A sly smile appeared on Akeno's face as she suddenly leaned closer to Naruto, pressing her very impressive bust into Naruto's arm, making the blonde grow a small blush. So tell me, Naruto-kun, do you have any stress you want me to help you with? That's enough of that. Saber called out as she ejected Naruto's body and appeared in front of Akeno's face. I won't allow you to go any further. Era Saber-san, how are you? Akeno asked, acting like nothing had happened. Would you like a snack? Don't try to change She was cut off by a growling sound. Saber's face gained a small red line as she stared at Akeno with a straight face. Yes, please, after all, hunger is one of the biggest enemies to fight. Akeno let out a little giggle before standing up from the couch and making her way to get Saber something to eat. Naruto let out a soft sigh before looking at his little friend with an amused look. You can such a glutton sometimes, Saber. A small tick mark formed on red-faced Saber, and she quickly flew in front of Naruto's face. Even if you're my master, I refuse to ignore what you just said. Naruto only laughed as the tiny girl waved her hands in a cartoonish manner. Don't laugh, it's a good thing I stopped Akeno-san or else. Once again Saber was interrupted from continuing, but it wasn't by her stomach this time. Or else what? The two froze for a second before turning to see Rias looking at them while drying her hair with a towel. Hey there Rias-chan, done with your shower already? Naruto blinked a few times before smiling at the girl. No, you didn't miss anything. Akeno was just telling me about some of the requests she does. Giving Naruto a suspicious look as she walked towards the couch, but she walked right past it and made her way to the window. Rias lowered her towel from her hair and seemed to stare at the outside for a moment, before slowly opening the window. Rias-chan? Naruto watched with curiosity as the redhead turned from the window and made her way to the couches again, this time sitting in the seat across from him. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine, Rias replied, a calculative look on her face as she looked at the chessboard that Akeno had been messing with earlier. So Akeno set up a new puzzle while I was in the shower. Was that what she was doing? Naruto tilted his head as he looked down at the board and noticed some of its pieces were set up in various locations. You really like these things, huh? They can be entertaining at times. However, Rias reached out and moved a few pieces. Some of these problems are too easy with finding the solution. Checkmate. At that moment Akeno was walking back. Oh Bucho, you're back and I see you finished the puzzle. She handed her king a cup of tea before she placed a small plate with a few strawberries in front of Saber. Here you go, Saber-san. Thank you, Akeno-san. Saber bowed her head in gratitude before floating down to the table and grabbing one of the strawberries, eating it in her usual pace. Naruto smiled down at Saber before looking back at Rias, who still had that look on her face while she stared down at the tea in her hands. Akeno had moved over to her usual spot, standing behind Rias as she sat in her seat. Okay, Rias-chan, what's up? The redhead looked up from her drink at Naruto. Something is bothering you, what is it? Rias stared at Naruto for a few seconds before placing her teacup down. I've been doing a bit of research on that fallen angel we met a few weeks ago, Abazath. The image of the blue-haired man with his weapons of light flashed through Naruto's mind. From what I've gotten so far, he's actually high up in the rankings when it comes to fallen angels, not as high as one of the leaders but a powerful member. Yeah, I figured that when during our fight, Naruto said as he recalled the numerous weapons the man had been able to summon so easily. Thinking back on it now, he could remember seeing something off about the man's wings. Now that I think about it, his wings seemed a little weird, like they were layered? Rias nodded her head. That's because he was keeping his wings closed together. He actually had more than one set. As a fallen angel grows stronger and raised up through the ranks, they get a new set of wings added on to theirs. It's from this knowledge that I believe he is the one leading the fallen angel group that's in town. So you're saying that there's more of them here? Naruto questioned as he narrowed his eyes. Do you know what they're after? From what I've found out from my familiar, they seem to be targeting a second year that goes to our school. Rias lifted one of her glowing pieces. His name is Issei. I'm sure you both are aware of who he is. Wait, Issei? As in one of the perverted trio, the brunette with the épée fetish? You are telling me that little pervert has somehow gained the attention of a fallen angel? Naruto asked as he recalled what happened less than 30 minutes ago, while Rias nodded her head. And you are sure about this? I am. In fact, I believe she is going to go after him today, most likely to make him drop his guard by asking him to be her boyfriend. Seriously? Naruto raised his eyebrow. This might sound rude, but who would actually go out with that little perverted of their own free will? His word got a positive reaction from the devil girls as Rias grew a small smile and Akeno giggled into her hand. There must be more to it than that. I must agree with Naruto-sama, Saber spoke up as she finished her last strawberry. Is there any specific reason that they are after him? I have my suspicions as to why, however there is only one that would make the most sense in this situation. Fallen angels don't normally target humans unless it is for good reasons. Rias replied as she began to explain while crossing her arms under her chest. Angels are their usual targets, so they can try and corrupt them into becoming fallen angels themselves, and they only go after devils to kill them. That explains why Abazath would go out of his way when he said that he had picked up the presence of devil nearby, Naruto said as he recalled more of the fight, how the fallen angel had tried that sneak attack as he was leaving. So why do you think they're after him? I suspect the reason Issei is their target is because of the strong possibility that he could be carrying a sacred gear inside him. Rias answered, they most likely want to kill him because they believe he will become a threat. Sacred gears, Saber crossed her own arms as she closed her eyes and thought, if I recall correctly, almost all the humans that acquire a sacred gear have no knowledge of such things being inside them in the first place. That doesn't really make much sense. I mean, why attack someone for a possible threat that may never happen? Naruto pointed out with a confused look. Sometimes fear can get to people, make them afraid of what could be instead of what is. Akeno said from her spot. Her gaze went down to look at Rias. Who knows, his Hiatus-san will stay ignorant to his power forever, and someone might want to take advantage of his sacred gear later on. Naruto looked back and forth between the two before letting out a sigh. You're thinking of turning Issei into a devil, aren't you, Rias-chan? He asked, to which Rias hesitantly nodded her head. Well, I can't really say you can't. After all, I'm not a member of your peerage. I know Issei may be an odd choice and will no doubt cause a bit of issues later on because of his perverted tendencies, but he'll be a very valuable member of my peerage. Having a sacred gear user would be very beneficial to my plans and to my future battles, Rias stated, leaning back into the Victorian couch. The leader of the fallen angels, the Governor Azazel, has a strange obsession with sacred gears and has been collecting users to be a part of his faction. So since this fallen angel seems to targeting Issei to eliminate him, it must be a likely scenario that she has something else planned in the future. So in short terms, get rid of potential sacred gear user before having to fight her in the future. Naruto had an annoyed look on his face as he scratched the back of his head. Man, these guys are afraid of human potential that much? Well, they have good reason, Rias said with amusement in her voice. After all, you certainly were high in potential for a human, having both Saber in her power, as well as your skills at hand-to-hand combat. Yeah, I guess you're right about that. Naruto looked away from the smiling girl and noticed a certain white-haired girl wasn't in the room yet. So where is Koneko-chan? I would have figured she'd be here eating her snacks by now. I have her monitoring Issei and the fallen angel, that way I can predict the possible day she's planning on go through with her plan. That makes sense. Naruto noticed the seal on his arm started glowing, meaning someone was summoning him. Well, I suppose that's my cue. The blonde stood up with a stretch. I just hope it's not a weirdo again. It couldn't have been that bad, Naruto-kun, Rias said before she noticed a disgusted look on his face. Saber was no different as she shook her head as if to get rid of her thoughts. One guy wanted me to turn all the girls he created on his computer into real-life people so he could have his own personal harem. Another was a muscular man wearing a dress that wanted me to turn him into a woman. Naruto grunted before crossing his arms. Are you sure there isn't any other way for me to quickly raise my class? Like I told you before, unless you were born a pure-blood high-class devil blood like I was or have the blood inside you from a very powerful ancestor, there are only 3 real ways to raise your class. You don't have a peerage yet, nor are you that experienced, so rating games are out for the question at the moment. Rias explained as she closed her eyes. The second is the quickest but most dangerous, defeating high-ranking members of the other 2 factions. And finally, what you are doing right now, taking requests and boosting your rank at an even pace. Naruto let out a sigh as he picked Saber up and placed her on his shoulders. I know, but it's still a major pain in the ass. After creating a seal underneath him, he gave the girls a wave. I'll see you guys later, keep me updated on the pervert. Alright, will do. As he disappeared, the girls stared at the area he had been in silence. Rias turned back to look at Akeno. So were you able to get a reading? Akeno nodded her head. Yes, it's just as you suspected. Naruto-kun's powers are much higher than a normal human that was turned into a devil should be. Given how hard he trains, the rate of his growth, and how much you said he had when he was reincarnated, he should already be close to high-class level. But it's strange. I thought as much. Rias reached out and grabbed a king chess piece of the board and held it close to her face. During the short time Naruto had been unconscious, I had found that he had somehow absorbed all the power that had been inside the mutation piece that I was going to use on him. And when I was checking his power level, it first started out very high before somehow lowering itself. Is it because of Saber-san and her powers? Could her presence be limiting his own power? Akeno asked in confusion. No, I don't think so, Rias answered as she continued to look at the king. You said it yourself, Akeno, fear is a power thing. Fear? What could Naruto-kun be afraid of? When I saw him with his family, it was heartwarming just seeing how much they cared about each other. Rias lowered the king back onto the board, placing it in the center square. Remember, unlike everyone in my peerage so far, Naruto-kun was a human with no knowledge of our world and has a normal family. So then he's, Akeno started to say before she was cut off by Rias. Afraid that he will be rejected by his family. And since he's not a member of my peerage, he believes that he'll be all alone if that happens. Even when I told him that we would stand by him if that happened, Rias had a sad look in her eyes. While he acknowledges and accepts that he's a devil now, he's subconsciously afraid and is holding himself back from accessing his true power. Being alone can be a truly horrible thing. Akeno had a sad smile on her face as she said that. So do you think he'll ever harness that power? Rias let her body fall back into the couch once again, eventually hopefully soon, but until then he'll just have to grow stronger without his full power. Tell me Butcho, are you saying that because you want him to be safe? Akeno closed the distance to the couch and leaned over it, or is it because you want him to help you with that? I want both, Rias said as she stood up from her seat, moving a few steps away while ignoring the look Akeno was giving her. I don't want to see Naruto in pain, and truthfully I feel like he's the only one who can save me from this fate. Butcho do you? Akeno stopped herself before shaking her head. Never mind, I already know the answer. Rias was quiet before turning to her queen. Let's go Akeno, we have some preparations to do. With a nod of her head, Akeno followed after Rias in silence. Gee. So let me get this straight, you were summoned by the pervert after he was fatally wounded by the fallen angel, turned him into a devil servant that required all of your pawn pieces, teleported him home before he could woke up, and didn't tell him he was now a devil. Naruto was with Rias a few days later. It was their lunch break between classes, listening to her as she explained the situation to him as promised. Did I get everything right? Yes, that's right. Rias nodded her head as she and Naruto watch over the stairs as Issei seemed to be freaking out about how no one seemed to remember his girlfriend and information about her disappeared as well. I don't know if you're doing out of curiosity or whatever, but I have to say, Naruto smirked in amusement as he leaned on the railing. This is pretty funny to watch. I figured you might say that. Rias smiled at him before looking back down again. So how is training with Koneko and Kiba? Well, with Koneko-chan it is mostly hand-to-hand combat, so we help each other out. With her strength and my technique it goes on for a while. It's been fun. I think I've even seen her crack a very small smile to show she's enjoying it as well, but I can never get her to admit it. Good luck trying to. Rias replied as she shook her head before looking at him with a serious look. And what about Kiba? He's a nice guy, dedicated in his training. Fighting someone who focuses on speed rather than Koneko, and her strength is a nice change sometimes. Naruto explained before his eyes narrowed a little. But I've noticed he's been eyeing Saber with a suspicious look. He's trying to figure out the truth about her. I see. Rias nodded her head. She figured Kiba would be more cautious about Saber and her power over light, especially since she can give huge amounts of it to her wielder at any time. Speaking of Saber, how is our little friend? Enjoying her new freedom. Right now she's relaxing after training so much last night, and eating all that food after. Naruto let out a sigh. I swear that girl has no stomach, it's just a small black hole in her gut. Interesting. Rias let out a laugh into her hand, knowing both how much the tiny girl could eat and how much the two trained at night. She had been there to coach Naruto a bit on using magic, and while she couldn't be there for most of his training, she was still there to see him use Saber's power from a distance. If Naruto were to unlock his true potential and use Saber's power, then there's no doubt he could go far. Her thoughts were halted when she noticed Naruto standing up straight and moving to the stairs. Naruto-kun, where are you going? He looked back at her with a smile. I promised Mito-chan I'd have lunch with her today, since the two of us haven't done it in a while. As he was about to continue down the stairs he called out to her, want to join? Are you sure? I wouldn't want to interrupt. Rias placed a hand on the railing as she looked at him. While she wanted to talk to him more, she didn't want to hold Naruto up. Nah, I doubt she'll have a problem. Naruto shrugged his shoulders, before continuing down. She actually is quite fond of you. Alright then, if you're sure. Rias smiled as she began following him. As the two of them caught the attention of a few students as they walked down the stairs, especially from Issei and his friends as they drew closer to them. It's Rias-senpai and Naruto-senpai. She's so beautiful. And Naruto-senpai is as good-looking as ever. Are they really dating then? The two ignored what was being said as they made their way down the stairs, making their way past Issei. The brunette stared at the red-headed girl in a small daze as his thoughts going back to the strange dream he had where he was dying. He could remember the color red in a girl's voice. He snapped out of his thoughts when he noticed Rias looked at him with a side glance before she continued her way with a smirk. Soon she and Naruto reached the bottom of the stairs and turned the corner. Wow, she's really beautiful. Matsuda said, putting his arms behind his head as he leaned back against the wall. There's something about her unapproachable elegance. Motohama agreed as he raised a hand to his glasses. I wonder how that guy was able to do it. Issei continued to stare at where the two disappeared, not really paying attention to his friends as they talked about a new gentleman's DVD that Matsuda had gotten. What was that? Meanwhile. Hey Mito-chan. Naruto waved to his sister as he and Rias got closer to where his sister was sitting, and noticed that she wasn't alone. And Koneko-chan? Hello Naruto-senpai, Bucho the white-haired greeted before going back to her chocolate bar. I hope you didn't mind, but I saw Koneko-senpai by herself and invited her to join us. Mito gave her brother a sheepish grin. Naruto simply smiled and patted her on the head, much to her annoyance. It's no trouble, Rias is gonna join us too. So the more the merrier. Stop Oniai-chan, Mito whined as she pushed Naruto's hand away. You know I don't like that. It's embarrassing. Gomen. But I can't help it Mito-chan, the blonde smiled down at his sister. It's part of my job as a big brother. The siblings stopped when they heard the sound of Rias laughing and turned to look at her. Sorry, it's just you remind me of me and my brother. You have a brother too, Rias-senpai? Mito questioned as she looked at Rias. Is he older than you? Yes, his name is Surzex. The two of us have always been close when I was growing up. Rias explained with a smile, thinking about some of the times that they spent together. But you aren't now? Naruto raised an eyebrow. Did you guys get into a fight or something? Rias waved her hand in front of her face. No, it's not that. He just gets busy with his responsibilities, but when we do get the chance to talk and such, he can be just so embarrassing sometimes. Rias brought the hand to her forehead as she shook her head a little. Ha ha ha, Naruto chuckled as he walked over to a tree and sat down against it. Like I said, one of the jobs of being a big brother. Whatever Oniai-chan, Mito let out a sigh before turning to Koneko. How about you Koneko-senpai? Do you have any siblings? The first year froze mid-bite before turning to look at Mito. I'd rather not talk about it. Oh okay. The younger redhead blinked a few times before slowly and silently moving over to sit with her brother. So Rias-senpai, what is your brother like? My brother? Well, he's pretty laid back most of the time, and I can't really say I've ever seen him completely serious except for a few times. But he is someone you can count on. Rias smiled as she recalled her brother. Surzex is always kind and caring towards others, and always tries to keep things peaceful as he can. But with those very rare times he gets mad, he can get really scary. That reminds me of Oniai-chan, he's always kind to people well except perverts and bullies. Mito remembered one time when she was being bullied by a few kids at a playground once and Naruto sent all the kids running with bleeding noses, bruises and broken arms. He's always been there for me. Is that right? Rias looked over at the blonde, who was resting back against the tree with his eyes closed. Mito was right about the two being similar when it came to how they treated people, and both were very protective as well. I can definitely see it. My Oniai-chan can be a pain sometimes, but I'll leave him in your care Rias-senpai. As soon as Mito said that, Naruto slipped from his spot and fell on his side. He quickly raised himself back up and looked at his sister with a red face. What the hell Mito-chan? Sure, you can count on me. Rias replied with a smile, a very small dust of red on her cheeks as well. Naruto turned to Rias and noticed both she and his sister were giving him a mischievous looks. Letting out a sigh, his head dropped a little. You both are against me. A small hand holding a small bar of chocolate moved in front of his face. Tilting his head to the side, he saw the hand belonged to Koneko, who still had a blank look on her face. Huh. Here you go. Naruto stared at the chocolate for a second before taking it from Koneko. Thanks Koneko-chan. The petite girl nodded her head before going back to her snack. It's just one of those days. Naruto muttered before taking a bite of the chocolate. Later that night, the park was quiet as Naruto walked along the path, heading towards the meeting place that Rias had told him to meet her. Now that Issei was a devil, there was no doubt that he would be attacked sooner or later. And with that pervert's luck, Naruto was betting on it being the former. If Issei was really as suspicious as they thought he was, then he will mostly go to where he had been supposedly killed. Getting closer to his destination deeper in the park, he noticed a figure was sitting on one of the benches. Thanks to his enhanced sight that he gained after he became a devil, he could see it was a woman. She had golden blonde hair like his, though hers was a bit duller. She was wearing a white turtleneck, a violet miniskirt that reached her upper thighs, black pantyhose and long brown boots. She was staring up at the sky with her red eyes, ignoring the world around her as she looked at the stars. But even though she wasn't moving, for some reason Naruto's body was telling him to be cautious of her. He shook his head a few times before continuing his way, keeping his guard up just in case. As he was walking past the bench, the girl called out, "Hello, Devil-san." Naruto froze mid-step, slowly turning to look at her with wide eyes. The girl continued to stare up at the sky as Naruto braced himself. They're so pretty in this town, don't you think? Huh? Naruto blinked as he stared at the girl with confusion. The stars, don't you think they're pretty here? The girl looked down from the sky and towards Naruto. The blonde man lowered his arms before looking up at the sky. I guess I've never really thought about it before. The girl smiled before shaking her head. That's what I thought. No matter how many years pass, people always focus on so many things and they forget to stop and enjoy life. It's very sad to see. Maybe, Naruto said, catching the girl's attention, but when we forget to the things that matter and stop, it makes it harder to accomplish our goals. After all, everyone has a reason for what they do. And what about you? She asked. Do you have a reason? Of course, Naruto held a fist up in front of him. If I stop now, then I can't protect the people I care about. She was silent for a moment before hopping off the bench and walking up to him, stopping just a few inches away as she leaned closer to him, studying him. You're different from the other one. Other one? Naruto was confused as he studied the girl's face. She was pretty cute. Who are you talking about? It doesn't matter. The red-eyed girl replied as she took a hop back and brought her arms behind her back. But I will say this, if you want to grow stronger, you have to get rid of your fear. Why? I'll see you another time, Devil-san. After all, you've started to pique my interest. The girl said as she began to turn around, but Naruto called out to her, curious on what she meant. Wait, what did? Why? Naruto was cut off as she pointed further down the path. You better hurry, or else that fallen angel will kill that boy, she said before continuing her way down the path. Rias was going to be there with Akeno and the others, so he already knew that he didn't need to be there right away. Hold on, Naruto called out, but the girl didn't stop walking, even as she turned her head to show she was listening. Who are you? It's much more polite to introduce yourself first before asking someone else for theirs. Naruto stared at the girl for a few seconds before nodding his head. I'm Naruto Uzumaki. The girl nodded her head with a smile. My name is Arcuade Brinistud. She turned her head to look at Naruto. A red-purple portal appears next to her. Until we meet again, Uzumaki-san. Later. With a small wave, she walked into the portal and grew a small smile as it closed behind her. This descendant is definitely a fascinating one. Naruto watched with a raised eyebrow. Arcuade? Amazing. To actually see a true ancestor in this day and age. Saber commented as she appeared next to Naruto, staring at where the girl had disappeared. True ancestor? What's that, Saber? Naruto asked as he looked at his flying companion. It's a bit hard to explain. I guess you can say they're powerful vampires that. That was a vampire? Naruto interrupted but was hit on the head by Saber. Oh. Saber, that hurt. Then don't interrupt me. Saber shouted at him before crossing her arms. As I was saying before I was interrupted, Naruto had a sheepish smile at that. Yes, that woman's a vampire, a very powerful one, but I didn't think I would ever see a true ancestor in this day and age. Huh, do you mean? Naruto asked. No more words are needed to explain. Saber looked at where Arcuade was standing. She is the last one of her kind. She's the last one. The blonde devil looked down at the ground, but before he could think any more, he saw a small glint of light flash deeper in the forest. Come on, Saber, we have to meet the others. Hi, Naruto-sama. A few minutes later. I had no idea that this city was under the control of the Gremory family, a middle-aged man said as he dusted off his fedora. He had short black hair and dark blue eyes. His was wearing a pale violet trench coat over a white dress shirt with a matching ascot, black pants and shoes, and a black fedora. Is that boy a member of your peerage? Yes, so if you harm him, then I will show no mercy to you, Rias replied with Koneko and Akeno standing next to her. And I'm surprised. I would have thought that your friend would have already told you. Abazath, I believe. Abazath? So he knew that man doesn't really like to share information. The man muttered to himself before straightening himself. I'll apologize for today. But a little warning, you let your slaves out of your sight if you want them to live longer. Someone like me might just kill him. I thank you for the warning. In exchange, let me warn you to remember that if you try this again and attack someone from the house of Gremory. A cold smile appeared on her face as she stared at the man. I will eradicate you without hesitation nor mercy. Haha, I see. Then I return those words back to you. The man extended his wings outward before shooting off into the sky. My name is Dohnaseek, pray that we never meet again. A strange pressure suddenly hit the fallen angel, making him turn his head to see Naruto and Saber standing on one of the trees, staring up at him with blank faces. You better remember this as well. Naruto suddenly grew a grin as he looked up at the man. Sorry, but if you're trying to scare me, then I have to say that you're truly pathetic. Oh really, are you a member of her peerage as well? Dohnaseek asked. A light spear appeared in his hand. Akeno was about to ready her lightning when Rias raised a hand in front of her. This was Naruto's fight. Nope, just an independent devil. Naruto's grin grew a little bigger. This was the perfect chance to see how well his control has gotten. Saber, let me try this on my own. Saber only nodded as she moved over to where Rias and the others were. Independent, huh? Then it won't matter if you die, he declared as the light spear in his right hand lit up. He cocked his hand back and threw the spear straight towards Naruto. Instead of jumping out the way, Naruto simply raised his hand and caught it just as the tip was about to hit him. That was just pathetic. I was right about not needing to use Saber's defense cloak against him. The blonde tightened his grip on the light spear until it shattered into tiny fragments and faded away. In the air, Dohnaseek gaped in shock at what he just saw. There's no way devil can hold a light spear, let alone destroy it like that. It's a light-based weapon, therefore a devil should be weak against it. Dohnaseek's eyes hardened as he stared down at Naruto. This was impossible. You know I don't feel like flying right now, so how about we fight on the ground? Naruto raised his arm up and concentrated his power into his hand, forming the energy into a spear of his own, surprising the others. Energy manipulation is surprisingly easy now then, get down here. With a tug of his wrist, Naruto threw the spear at Dohnaseek with a powerful throw. The fallen angel didn't have time to dodge as the spear came at him fast and tore right through his left side, taking his arm and wing with it. Due to his loss of a wing and the power of the blow, the man came crashing into the ground. Much better. The girls were surprised that Naruto could use the power of light like that, especially Akeno and Koneko since they never seen Naruto use his power in person. Rias just smiled as she watched Naruto hop down from the branch he was standing on and made his way over to the fallen angel. Even after seeing it several times before, it never ceased to amaze her at the fact that there was now a devil that could use light magic. Dohnaseek slowly raised himself up to see Naruto standing over him. Just what the hell are you? There's no way you can use light magic, you're a devil. You're right, I am a devil. Naruto lifted his hand up and concentrated his power to his hand, covering it with a powerful golden glow. But as you can see, I have no trouble controlling the power of light. Who are you? Dohnaseek demanded as he glared up at the blonde, knowing this freak was about to kill him. Naruto ignored his question and looked back at Rias, asking her a silent question of his own. Rias-chan? She was quiet for a moment before nodding her head. You may do with him as you wish, Naruto-kun. After all, he is someone that we will most likely cross paths with in the future and have to deal with later on. Dohnaseek's eyes widened in surprise when he heard her say Naruto's name. Naruto? As in Naruto Uzumaki? Naruto turned back to the fallen angel. How do you know my name? The man started to chuckle. Before long it started to grow and turned into an uncontrollable laughter. What the hell's so funny? Dohnaseek calmed down enough to give Naruto an evil grin, just enjoying the irony. After all, you're one of our targets as well. What? Why would you guys be after me? Naruto reached down and grabbed the bleeding stump that had been Dohnaseek's arm, making the man let out a grunt in pain. Tell me. Now why would I do that? You're about to die here and now. He summoned another spear with his uninjured hand, before jabbing it forward. Believing that Naruto wouldn't be able to block, let alone dodge an attack that was coming from so close. To his shock, however, Naruto knocked the spear out of his hands and into the air without even looking. The blonde created a small orb of light in his hands. That was the wrong answer, Naruto said in a frosty tone before slamming the orb into Dohnaseek's body. Light grenade. The fallen angel paused, not moving a muscle. But then his body started to shake and convulse before glowing a gold color. His body exploded in a bright golden light that covered both him and Naruto from the other sights. After a few seconds the light disappeared and only Naruto came into view. On the ground in front of him was a scorch mark that resembled a body. He turned away from the marking and started walking towards the small group. He raised his hand into the air and caught the spear he had knocked into the air, before destroying it with a twist of his wrist. Very impressive, Naruto-kun, Rias said as soon as he stopped in front of her. Your control over your new power is very good for someone who started a few weeks back. What can I say? I like to train and push myself. Naruto shrugged before letting out a disappointed grunt. I just wish I got answers from the guy. Why did he say I was a target too? Who knows, but if they were targeting you like they were Issei, something about you must have caught their attention, Akeno said, bringing a hand to her face. Naruto thought back to earlier with Arcuade. Great, I seem to be doing that a lot lately. Well, never mind about that. No, how is the pervert? He noticed all the girls seemed to have a small look of realization. He's still bleeding out, isn't he? It seems so, Rias said as she turned around and walked towards the unconscious boy. I didn't think he would run into a fallen angel so soon. It was careless of me. He'll die if we don't do something, Koneko commented as she stared at Issei from a distance. So why did you guys try to heal him while I was beating that fallen angel? Naruto thought to himself before looking at Saber. Is it possible for me to use your healing on him? Saber shook her head before speaking. Unfortunately, it wouldn't work on him, seeing as my power is mostly light-based. Maybe when you have more control over it, but for now it would only make things worse. I guess I'll take him home and help him heal properly, Rias said with a soft sigh as she placed her hand on Issei's shoulder. With this kind of wound, it will most likely be better to stay the night. If you had started healing him sooner, you wouldn't have to worry about it. Naruto gave the girl a look, to which she playfully stuck her tongue out at him. Just make sure he doesn't do anything to you. I think I heard a bit of jealousy there, Naruto-kun. Did you want Bucho to spend the night with you instead? Akeno commented as she pressed up against him from behind and rubbed her large chest against his back. If you want, I can keep you company for the night. Akeno, stop rubbing yourself against Naruto-kun. Rias gave the raven-haired girl a small glare with a look of irritation on her face. We have more important things to do. Fufufu, now you have some jealousy in your voice, Bucho. Akeno said in a teasing manner as she hid herself behind Naruto. Besides, I doubt Naruto minds. Do you, Naruto-kun? Sure, I won't say that it doesn't feel nice. Naruto replied with a bored look, making Akeno pout a little and Rias snicker a bit, but I'd rather get home before my family gets worried. He took a step away from Akeno and stood next to his petite Kouh. I hope you're not turning into a pervert, Naruto-senpai, Koneko said, making Naruto give the white-haired girl an offended look before replying in a deadpan tone. No way, Koneko-chan, saying something like that puts me in the same class as this idiot, he said before lightly kicking Issei, which made Rias lightly swatted him on the leg. I just admit that I like beautiful women, and both Rias and Akeno are examples of beautiful women. Rias pushed her blush down before speaking up. Anyway, you should all head home, and we will meet up again tomorrow. After all, we have a new member to properly introduce to everyone, she said as the other members nodded at her words. A seal appeared under her and Issei. See you tomorrow. With that said, the two disappeared. Everyone else soon followed her example and went to their respective homes, though Naruto had an annoyed look on his face of the thought of what was going to happen tomorrow morning. Gee. The next day came quickly and Naruto was now standing on the upper levels above the building's entrance, waiting for Rias to make an appearance. He had already said goodbye to his sister before going over to the railing to keep an eye out for red hair. While he knew Rias could handle herself easily against a weak pervert like Issei, he couldn't help but feel frustrated about the fact she was with the brunette. Naruto didn't know why he was feeling like this, but the blonde knew one thing: he didn't like it at all. I'm surprised to see you here, Naruto-san. He turned towards the voice and saw the voice belonged to the second high-class devil at Kouh Academy and student council president, Sona Citri. She had black hair styled in a short bob cut and violet eyes which she hid behind a pair of red glasses. She was beautiful and intelligent, and was the third most popular girl under Rias and Akeno. I should be the one saying that, Sona-san, Naruto grinned at her as he shifted to leaning on the rail with one arm. After all, as the student council president, you have a lot of responsibilities, correct? True, but I wanted to see something for myself, Sona replied, closing her eyes as she leaned back against one of the pillars. Rias has gotten a new member to her peerage, and I heard it was Issei Haidu. Yeah, it's true. Apparently some fallen angels were after him, and she turned him into her pawn after he was killed, Naruto said before gazing back down at the entrance. He could see some of the students were looking back, as if something shocking was happening behind them. Looks like they're here. Sure enough, Rias and Issei were walking through the entrance. They've certainly caught a lot of attention, Sona commented as the two watched Rias say something to Issei before walking away, and when he tried to stop her he got punched in the face by one of his friends. Yeah, Naruto replied with a dull tone, staring at the three perverts. Sona smirked before looking towards the stairs where Rias was making her way up. So you got yourself a new one, huh? She called out to get Rias' attention, making the girl look up. Good day, Rias. The red-headed devil smiled back. Good day, Sona. She turned her head to see Naruto was standing there as well before moving up to him. Good morning, Naruto-kun. Good morning, Rias-chan, Naruto greeted. I'm surprised you took him on a whim, Sona said as she and the other two looked down at the perverted trio, who for some reason seemed to be playing rock-paper-scissors. That's not like you at all. Really? Rias has a small smile on her face. Sona looked at her with a curious look. I guess I've gained a stupid little brother to watch over. Is that so? Sona muttered before looking back at the trio. We should probably head to class, Naruto suggested as he moved away from the railing. Rias and Sona turned away as well to see Naruto was already walking away. See you later, Sona-san. Have a nice day. You as well, Naruto-san. Sona replied before turning to Rias. I have some duties I need to finish up. I just wanted to see what your new pawn looked like. Hi, I understand. Rias nodded to her fellow devil. She started making her way to the student council room before coming to a stop after a few steps. You may want to talk to Naruto-san, she said without looking back, knowing Rias was sending her a confused look. Not that it's my business. But he was up here for at least 10 to 15 minutes waiting for you to show up and make sure you were okay. He was? Rias blinked and looked to where Naruto had been standing, but why would he do that? I was perfectly fine. My guess is that he was worried that Issei might have tried something. Sona lifted her hand to her face and pushed her glasses up. While the three of us all know that you could handle yourself just fine, I do believe it's something to consider. Goodbye, Rias. Rias was silent for a minute or so, thinking about what her friend/rival had said. A small smile came to her face as she closed her eyes. For some reason the thought of Naruto being worried about her made her happy. Shaking her head a few times, the female devil made her way towards the classroom. She soon made her way into the classroom and saw Naruto was sitting at his desk, leaning on his palm while staring out the window with a blank expression. Thank you? He turned his head to see Rias, standing right next to her desk, looking down at him with a smile. For worrying about me. It's no big deal. Naruto looked away with a small blush. I know you can handle yourself, but I was annoyed and concerned. Really? About what? Rias asked as she leaned a little closer. Naruto's blush grew a little more, because you were spending the night with someone as perverted as Issei. It just bothered me for some reason. I see, she replied as she brushed her hair behind her ear. So does that mean you want me to spend the night with you next time? What? Naruto snapped his head back to look at her, and saw she had an amused grin on her face. Don't joke about things like that. Who says I'm joking? Remember, Naruto-kun, anyone can just see me. Rias reached out and grabbed Naruto's hand, holding it tightly. But I'm still the one who decides who is allowed to touch me. Rias-chan, Naruto muttered as he stared into her eyes. This was one of the things about her that attracted him to her. The first was her beautiful red hair, and the second was her blue-green eyes, which were full of so many different and powerful emotions. What are you? Era, you're both so romantic in the morning, Akeno said from right behind them. Rias and Naruto pulled their hands apart in surprise and turned to see a smiling Akeno looking at both of them with a smile. You both can be so jumpy. Because you keep sneaking up on us, Rias replied while pointing at the ponytailed girl. I don't even know how you're able to get past my senses, Naruto muttered as he looked up at Akeno with a suspicious side glance. Come now, Naruto-kun, every woman has her secrets. Akeno laughed in her hand. Besides, class is about to start soon, and we're going to have a new student join us. A new student? Naruto had a curious look. He didn't remember the teacher saying anything about a new student. Rias was the one to answer next. That's right, I was told we were getting someone today. She's a transfer student. She? Naruto repeated. At that moment the teacher walked in. All right everyone, get into your seats. After a few seconds everyone was seats. As some of you know, we are getting a new student today. Please be polite and make her feel welcome at Kouh Academy. Hi. Mrs. Emiya nodded her head with a smile before turning towards the door. You can come in now. The door slowly opened and a girl walked into the class. So why don't you introduce yourself? Yes, ma'am, the girl replied before she started to write her name on the board. Rias studied the girl with a calculative stare. There was no doubt that this girl was. She turned her head and saw Naruto staring at the girl with a shocked expression. Naruto-kun? When the girl finished writing her name, she turned to the class with a smile. Hello everyone. My name is Arcuade Brunestad. I hope we all get along. Why are you here? Naruto asked, staring at a smirking Arcuade. As soon as the bell rang, Naruto ignored the looks he got from Rias and Akeno while pulling the vampire to a secluded spot. You were the one who brought me here, Arcuade replied as she raised her eyebrow. That's not what I was asking and you know it, Naruto exclaimed as he pointed at her with an annoyed look. Why are you here at school? I came here to learn, the vampire girl replied before crossing her arms. What's your reason? Naruto's eyebrow twitched as he stared at her. That is complete bull. You're a true ancestor, which means you've been around for centuries. What could you possibly learn here that you don't already know? Oh, so you know what I am. A coy smile appeared on her face as she walked closer to him. That's right, I am a true ancestor. But even after living for so many years, a girl can get bored with simply traveling around the world. So after meeting you last night I decided to stay here for a while. Me, how could I make you stay here? Naruto asked. Don't you remember what I said last night? I told you that you caught my interest, Arcuade said with a smile, leaning closer towards Naruto. And I decided to see for myself what kind of path you will choose. Path? What are you talking about? Naruto questioned with narrow eyes. I want to see if a devil can truly handle the power of light, or if you'll be consumed by the darkness inside you. Arcuade answered, reaching up her hand under Naruto's chin and lifted his head a little. So be sure to entertain me. Naruto looked at the girl with confusion. Wait, now that I think about it, how did you get into this school? Naruto asked. I doubt you really transfer from another school. Actually, I did. I have records in the system so I can blend in with society. Arcuade replied before rubbing the back of her head, though with how many times things keep changing, it's hard to follow human rules sometimes. Just how old are you anyways? Arcuade lowered her arm before leaning forward a bit. Now Uzumaki-san, it isn't nice to ask a girl her age. May I ask what is going on here? A voice called out from the side, making the two turn to see Rias looking at the two of them with a hard expression. Rias-chan, Naruto took a few steps away from Arcuade and started walking to the redhead, gesturing to the female vampire. I was just talking to Arcuade, she's a true ancestor, I know. Rias interrupted before she started walking closer towards the two, walking right past Naruto and stopped in front of Arcuade. What I really want to know is why the White Princess of the true ancestors is at our school. White Princess? Naruto thought to himself as he watched the girls. Rias was staring at Arcuade with calculating eyes. Hey Saber, ever heard of that title before? I believe I have somewhere. Saber's voice spoke in his mind. Unfortunately, I can't recall. Like I told Uzumaki-san, I'm here because I was bored. Arcuade said with an innocent face. You don't have to worry though. I'm not interested in getting in the way of you devils or the fallen angels. I'm more on the sidelines. So you know what is going on in this town at the moment. Is there anything you can tell us? Rias asked while crossing her arms. Nope, can't think of anything. If I did say anything then I would lose my entertainment. Arcuade replied, making Naruto and Rias sweat drop at the girl's attitude. The vampire let out a low hum as she looked up at the sky. That being said, I wonder what I should do now. It's going to be boring until then. Naruto closed his eyes and thought. After he made it home last night he had asked Saber about last ancestors. From what he learned, this one girl in front of him could destroy this entire town so easily, and yet she seemed so innocent. Naruto shook his head a few times before looking at Rias, who gave him a side glance before huffing and looking away, making him tilt his head in confusion. Rias-chan? Is something wrong? Naruto asked, but she didn't answer. Did he do something? She turned her gaze back to him. When were you going to tell me you've already met this woman? It was only just last night, on my way to meeting you guys. Naruto explained, rubbing the back of his head as he looked away from her. The meeting was so short that I didn't think it was important. I didn't even know what she was until Saber told me later that night. Still, if you meet someone like this, you should tell me, Rias said, this time turning her whole body in his direction. You don't have to keep things like this to yourself. Like I said, I didn't think it was important, Naruto replied as he turned away from Rias. Besides, you had more important things to take care of, like stopping that fallen angel and healing the pervert. And you don't think you're important to me as well? Rias' fast question actually surprised Naruto a bit. Do you still believe you're not a part of us? Well, I'm not really a member of your peerage. So I figured it wouldn't be a factor at the moment. Besides, nothing happened, and I'm fine, Naruto said, turning to look back at Rias, before noticing the sad/concerned look in her eyes. Rias-chan, never mind, you're right, I'm sorry. Her eyes seemed a little brighter as she nodded her head with a smile. As long as you understand, but to the matter at hand, what should we do with her? Rias asked while motioning towards Arcuade, who was looking at them with a sly smile. Oh, don't mind me, the vampire replied with a smile. This show the two of you have is better than anything I've seen on television, so much drama and romance between the two of you. The two glanced at each other with slightly red cheeks. Then Naruto looked away with an embarrassed look while Rias had a small smile. She turned around and started to walk away, before calling out to Naruto as she got a few feet away. Alright then, I'll be leaving her in your care, Naruto-kun. Remember that we'll be having a meeting later to introduce Issei into the supernatural world. Hold on. You can't just leave her here under my care, Naruto shouted while pointing back towards the woman behind him. She's a powerful vampire, how am I supposed to handle that? I have complete faith in you, Rias said back with an amused tone. Oh, and Kiba will be meeting you later so you both can get our new member. Oh, come on. I have to get the pervert too. Naruto whined as he watched the redhead turn the corner. Seconds later his head dropped. Great, just great. Nah, are you okay? Arcuade asked as she patted his shoulder. Naruto looked back at her for a second before nodding. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a little annoyed. Alright then, she smiled before pulling Naruto's arm. Let's go somewhere else, staying in one place is very boring. With surprising strength, the woman pulled Naruto all around the school, making him give her a small tour. A few of the other students, female, that saw them whispered to each other, while others, males, were giving Naruto angry looks. The male blonde already had the affection of Kouh Academy's #1 girl, and now he was hanging out with the hot new girl that wasn't fair at all. For some reason I feel like hitting some people, Naruto thought to himself as he looked around for a second before shaking his head. Oh well. After school. I swear, I'm going to kick that pervert's ass if he talks about a pay while we're at the meeting. Naruto frowned as he walked with his hands in his pockets. Kiba and Arcuade were walking with him as they made it towards Issei Hayata's class. Now Naruto-senpai. I'm sure Hayata-san won't be that bad, Kiba said as he tried to calm the situation a bit, though that didn't seem to stop Naruto from his doubt. Kiba's gaze shifted to the golden blonde girl walking behind them. By the way, who is this? Perking up at the gaze, the vampire girl introduced herself. My name is Arcuade Brinestad, Uzumaki-san is showing me around. Kiba looked at Naruto, silently asking for an explanation. She's a true ancestor, a powerful vampire that's now going to our school. She's in the same class as Rias-chan, Akeno and I, Naruto explained as he closed his eyes. Somehow I've caught her attention and am now a source of entertainment. I see. Kiba blinked before looking back at Arcuade. He had heard about true ancestors when he was learning about the supernatural world, but he never thought he would see one. So is she going to be like you then?